Now, a number of airstrikes by the U.S.-led coalition has killed at least 62 civilians in Syria. The air raids struck the villages of Al-Susa and Al-Bubadran in Bukamal region of Deir ez-Zor province. Dozens more have been wounded. Many of the dead include women and children. Local sources say that the number of fatalities is expected to rise as most of the injured are in critical condition. Now, many remain under the rubble. Reports say that one of the airstrikes targeted a mosque. The U.S.-led coalition is operating in Syria without authorization from the government in Damascus or a UN mandate. Now, from Damascus, the Syrian capital, I'm joined by our correspondent there, Mohammed Ali. Good to have you with us, Mohammed. Again, another airstrike by the U.S.-led coalition and innocent civilians getting killed. Tell us more about that.
Yes, exactly. This is not a new scenario. This has been happening almost on a weekly basis since the formation of this U.S.-led coalition. In every airstrike this coalition carries out against targets in Syria, we see a large number of civilians being killed. Now, what happened is that, according to local sources, in the past 24 hours, the U.S.-led coalition carried out 3 airstrikes on the 2 towns of Al-Susa and Al-Bubadran, about 140 kilometers southeast of Deir ez-Zor, on the borderline with Iraq. The result was the killing of at least 62 civilians, mostly women and children over there. This happens just about 3 days following a similar also airstrike by the U.S.-led coalition on that same town of Al-Susa. Now, the Syrian Foreign Ministry sent 2 letters to the United Nations saying that this is a war crime and a crime against humanity. Also, the Foreign Ministry said that this crime proves that the goal of the U.S.-led coalition is not to fight terrorism, but in fact kill as many as possible of the Syrian people. This is according to the Foreign Ministry. This is also similar to statements made to the comments made by Foreign Minister Walid al-Muallim just a week ago in a press conference when he said that the U.S.-led coalition is fighting everything in Syria except for Daesh. The Foreign Ministry in a statement also went on to say that it asked actually the United Nations Security Council to shoulder its responsibilities in preventing such attacks and also start an international, transparent and independent investigation into this crime and condemn it. The Foreign Ministry also concluded by saying that and asking the United Nations Security Council to end the presence of the U.S. Inside Syria and other foreign troops that are in Syria without the consent of the Syrian government. So this is not a surprise, whether for the civilians in Syria, for the ordinary people, or the government, because this has been happening on a weekly basis by the U.S.-led coalition.
And Mohammed, is there any reaction by the U.S.-led coalition about this?
Well, we still didn't hear anything about that from the U.S.-led coalition itself or from the United States, but usually the U.S. does not admit that it's killing a large number of civilians inside Syria because of its airstrikes, or rather even in Iraq, because the coalition operates in both countries.
All right, thank you for that update. Mohammed Ali, our correspondent in Damascus.
The US is pulling out of a nuclear missile pact with Russia. The Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty has been in place for more than 30 years. President Trump accused Moscow of violating the deal.
Russia has violated the agreement. They've been violating it for many years, and I don't know why President Obama didn't negotiate or pull out. And we're not going to let them violate a nuclear agreement and go out and do weapons, and we're not allowed to. We're the ones that have stayed in the agreement, and we've honored the agreement, but Russia has not, unfortunately, honored the agreement. So we're going to terminate the agreement. We're going to pull out. Unless Russia comes to us and China comes to us and they all come to us and they say, let's really get smart and let's none of us develop those weapons. But if Russia's doing it and if China's doing it and we're adhering to the agreement, that's unacceptable. So we have a tremendous amount of money to play with on our militaries.
The treaty has been in force since 1987. Under the pact, Russia and the US required to eliminate nuclear missiles with a range of 1,000 to 5,500 kilometers. But the deal does not include sea-launched missiles. It was seen as a key milestone in ending the Cold War. Russia has repeatedly said it will keep observing the INF Treaty as long as the US does. However, Russian President Vladimir Putin said last year that if Washington were to renounce its obligations, Moscow would do the same.
If our American partners exit the agreement, we will give an immediate and reciprocal response. We have complied with the agreement and we will continue to do so as long as our partners do the same.
We're joined now by Michael Malouf, former Pentagon security official. Thanks, Michael, for coming onto the programme. Now, the INF Treaty, it was an important step, wasn't it, in ending the Cold War arms race? And now, after more than 30 years, the US is pulling out. How significant is this?
Well, I think it's significant in that, for a number of reasons. Number one, it has held the peace, if you will, and particularly between Russia and the United States and Europe, in fact, for that length of time. I think that there's more ulterior motives attached to all this. If you listened closely, there has never been mentioned what the violations have been, alleged violations have been by Moscow. Number two, there's only been one meeting between the United States and Russia since for over a number of years, in fact, and never once has there been any talk of sitting down and discussing alleged violations and trying to recommit to adherence on both sides. But number three, there's something more significant to this. The United States, and Trump just raised that in his comments. The United States would rather pull out because of China. Right now, it cannot develop new intermediate range missiles to confront China, even though China is not a signatory to that agreement. So this is adding a whole new ball of wax. And even though China was not a signatory to that agreement, the United States feels that it's now at a disadvantage in the development of intermediate range missiles. And I would add one last caveat to all this. It was John Bolton, his national security advisor, who really pushed Trump to this decision. And Bolton has been in the forefront of getting the United States to act unilaterally, not only in this case, but also in dropping out of the Iranian nuclear agreement and putting troops into Syria toward the idea of regime change. So Bolton's a very dangerous fellow, and Trump is not really in charge of his own foreign policy.
I mean, if we look at the finger pointing that's going on, Michael, Trump saying Russia's been violating the treaty, and Moscow has repeatedly accused the US of failing to meet its obligations. But do we know who is really to blame? And like you mentioned before, we don't know what those violations are meant to be, do we? No, and if they were really serious about trying to correct a problem, if in fact there was one, they would have sat down and talked. But Bolton does not want to deal with Russia, even though he's going to be going to Moscow, I believe, next week, and he's going to inform Foreign Minister Lavrov that the U.S. is pulling out. Now,
Is this a basis for them now to negotiate a better deal, as Trump always calls for? That's a possibility. But I think the overriding concern right now is China, and because China is not a signatory to that arrangement.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that, didn't we, in the clip of Donald Trump speaking, talking about that new deal that you've mentioned as well.
Yes.
How likely is it that that new deal will indeed be negotiated between Russia, between China, between the US?
Well, let's see what happens as a result of the meetings. I don't think it's a 6-month notice, so anything can happen. There's going to be a meeting of Trump with Putin at the G20 within the next month. That might be an opportunity for them to sit down and seriously discuss this thing and put off any precipitous action that he just announced today. Again, I think he's trying to leverage Russia, and we'll just see what happens. And but there is 6 months. It has to be it is a 6-month notice, and if he lays it down formally if Bolton then lays that down formally when he goes to Moscow, that's when the clock begins.
As you've mentioned, Michael, pulling out of treaties seems to be an ongoing theme for Trump.
He feels that they're just not operating from a position of strength, and it's America first. All the usual rhetoric that you're hearing, and again, China is the key on this, and Bolton is of the mindset that we're at a disadvantage, and he's convinced Trump that we need to do something. And I might add that even Defense Secretary Mattis has expressed concerns about alleged violations. But again, nobody knows what those violations are. Is it the idea of developing a new cruise missile? Well, the treaty doesn't prohibit that. And the United States is developing new intermediate missiles and cruise missiles. But again, they can develop them, they can research, they just can't deploy.
Okay, we'll leave it there for now. Michael Malouf, former Pentagon security official, thanks very much for coming onto the program.
Вот в 2016 году тоже у вас было очень яркое высказывание, но это был такой сложный период, как мы помним, после украинского кризиса и уже сирийский кризис вовсю. И вас кто-то спросил из зала, а не пора ли снизить напряженность? И вы тогда ответили: у нас у всех есть запрос на снижение геополитической напряженности, только не способом наших похорон. Если плата за то, чтобы снизить геополитическую напряженность, наши похороны, то нас никого это не устроит. Ну, с похоронами пока не получается, но способ, по-моему, продолжает рассматриваться в некоторых частях мира как вариант. Вообще, у вас в последний период есть опыт общения с и президентом Соединенных Штатов, и вообще у нас много происходит. Но происходит все исключительно негативное. И, может быть, я не прав, глядя со стороны, но такое ощущение, что ваши встречи с Трампом, они тоже приводят к прямо противоположному результату. В связи с этим вопрос, а может быть вообще перестать пытаться, паузу такую взять? Ну, там у них свои проблемы внутренние большие. Пусть разберутся.
Знаете, такая шутка есть, старая, с бородой. Может, кто-то не знает, будет интересно. Значит, звучит она так. Вопрос: как вы расслабляетесь? Ответ: я не напрягаюсь. Вот. Значит, то же самое касается напряжения в международных делах. Мы не напрягаем никого. Мы не создаем никаких проблем. Мы, что ли, создаем эти проблемы? Нет. Это же нас все обвиняют в чем-то, причем с высокой степенью вероятности, как говорят, мы сделали то-то и то-то, то туда вмешались, то там что-то натворили. При этом никто не считает нужным предъявить какие-то доказательства. Для меня ясно, я уже об этом говорил, это результат внутриполитической борьбы в западном мире в целом. Сейчас вот идет борьба за условия выхода Великобритании из ЕС, внутри самих Соединенных Штатов, между демократами и республиканцами, внутри самих республиканцев. Вот. И очень кому-то показалось, что очень удобный инструмент решения внутриполитических проблем – это разыгрывание антироссийской карты. Это вредно для всех. Надеюсь, это пройдет когда-то. Но, судя по всему, нужно дождаться, чтобы были урегулированы внутриполитические кризисы. Произойдет это после выборов в Конгресс или нет, я не знаю пока. Но может быть. Или это произойдет в 2020 году, когда состоятся очередные выборы президента Соединенных Штатов. Тогда ему не нужно будет оглядываться постоянно на тех, кто спекулирует на антироссийской риторике. Были ли вредными или полезными наши встречи с президентом Трампом? Я считаю, что, несмотря на попытку дискредитировать эти встречи, они все-таки скорее были позитивными, чем негативными. Почему? Потому что мы видим, что там происходит. Конечно, видим. Мы же читать умеем. Читаем. Вот, смотрим то, что происходит там на внутриполитической площадке. Но все-таки лучше общаться и контактировать друг с другом, чем, извините за мовитон, собачиться и ругаться, не переставая. Значит, внутриполитически, ну, наверное, лучше не стало в Соединенных Штатах от наших встреч. Наверное, потому что, повторяю, это кто-то пытается все время использовать во внутриполитической борьбе. На мой взгляд, все-таки действующий президент, он настроен на какую-то стабилизацию и выравнивание российско-американских отношений. Ну, посмотрим, как будет складываться ситуация дальше. Мы, во всяком случае, к этому готовы в любой момент.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
In another extraordinary development in the case of slain journalist Jamal Khashoggi, Saudi Arabia's foreign minister says the outspoken columnist was murdered by a rogue operation at its consulate in Istanbul, adding it was a tremendous mistake. He also said they did not know the whereabouts of Khashoggi's remains.
Individuals who did this outside the scope of their authority. There obviously was a tremendous mistake made, and what compounded the mistake was the attempt to try to cover up. That is unacceptable in any government. These things unfortunately happen. We want to make sure that those who are responsible are punished.
Let's timeline things a little bit here. On Friday, Riyadh finally admitted that the journalist died in a fist fight inside the consulate. He was last seen there alive on the 2nd of October. The Saudi response came after weeks of denials and mounting international pressure. The Saudi king and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman have both phoned Khashoggi's son to express their condolences. While just yesterday, the Turkish president vowed to reveal the truth behind the killing.
We are looking for justice here, and this will be revealed in all its naked truth, not through some ordinary steps, but in all its naked truth.
Also, the UK, France, Germany have issued a joint statement condemning the killing, calling for a probe. Well, the German Chancellor is also among those urging further action to be taken against Riyadh.
Firstly, we are outraged by this case. We made that clear yesterday. Secondly, there is an urgent need for details, and those responsible are still not being held accountable. Thirdly, I agree with all those who say that arms exports, which are already limited, must not take place in the current circumstances. And fourthly, further reactions should be internationally coordinated.
I feel certain that the Crown Prince was involved and that he directed this, and that's why I think we cannot continue to have relations with him. I would cut off arms sales. It's the only thing the Saudis will listen to.
I find it very surprising that somebody 6,000 miles away can be certain about an event that happened 6,000 miles away with no access to information or intelligence. So this is a judgment call on the part of Senator Paul. This is not based in fact.
We see comments coming out of Germany, France, and Britain condemning it in the strongest terms. Germany wants to suspend arms sales. Even voices inside the U.S. President Trump's own Republican Party are calling for sanctions and not buying what the Saudis are selling.
Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. Today's lesson is going to be Hebrew names and meanings, or Hebrew names and their meanings. And I'm just going to go through a few Hebrew names that brothers should be familiar with. You know, you're not going to remember every single Hebrew name, of course, but, you know, certain ones of them are very important, you know, to know and to know their meanings and know how to break it down. You know, like when you're teaching, you know, this is a good technique to use, you know, when you're out there teaching, you know, go into the different Hebrew names and be able to break them down. You know, of course, you know, you have to know the name of the Most High Yahweh and the name of his son Yahweh Shai, how to break those down, you know, and others that are important also. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to go to the prologue of the book of Sirach, you know, just to read that caption, because, you know, it encapsulates a lot, because you got these clowns in the black unconscious community that say that the name Israel is Ra and El, Isis, Ra, and El, you know, which are so-called three different gods. But when you go back to the Hebrew of that, that's not the actual word. Matter of fact, before okay, so this is the prologue to the wisdom of Jesus, son of Sirach, or the prologue to the book of Sirach. It says, for the same things uttered in Hebrew and translated into another tongue have not the same force in them. And not only these things, but the law itself and the prophets and the rest of the books have no small difference when they are spoken in their own language. And that's why you have to go back to the original language that they were written in, so you can get a better understanding of what it means. Because like I was saying, those clowns from the unconscious, black unconscious community, they'll try to say that the name Israel is like a compound word, you know, for Isis, Ra, and El. No, it is a compound word, but not for Isis, Ra, and El, because that's not the original language of the name. The original language of the name goes back to the word here, as you see, Yah, Shar, Allah. That's a Yah, Shah, Ra, Allah. So Yah, these two are connected. Yah, Shar, Allah. You see here, Yashar, Allah. Now the Yah means he, Shar equals prince, and Allah is power or God. So it has nothing to do with Isis, Ra, and El. You know, it has everything to do with the Most High. And the word Allah simply means power or God. You know, so Yashar Allah means he, prince of the power or of God. That's the name that was given to Jacob when he wrestled with the angel. The Lord changed his name to Israel. Yashar Allah, he is a prince with God, or he is a prince of the power. All right. The next name that's important also is Abram. Now this is the Abraham's name before he was renamed Abraham. The Lord, he was named Abram first, which means Abba Rum. Abba Rum. Abba means father, and Rum means exalted or exalted father. So Abba Rum, Abba father, and Rum exalted. You know, then his name was changed because the reason why he was called Abba Rum was because he was the first father of the promise. He's the first one that the Most High exalted. You had Abraham, then you had Isaac, and then you had Jacob. Those are the three fathers of the promise, and Abraham being the most exalted out of all of them. That's where the beginning of the promise started with Abraham. It went on through Isaac, and it rested on Jacob and the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. All right, so his name was changed from Abram to Abraham. Abba Raham. Now the word Abba, as you already know, is father, and Raham means a multitude, father of a multitude. Okay, so the word Abraham, or the name Abraham, means father of a multitude. All right, now the next word, we're going to go to the next father of the promise that came out of Abraham, because Abraham had 8 sons. Most people don't know that. You know, they only think that Abraham had 2 sons or 1 son. You know, Abraham had Ishmael, he had Isaac, and he had 6 sons by Keturah. So Abba Raham means father of a multitude. Abba, father, and Raham, a multitude. All right, so the next name is Isaac. As you see here, Yah Taza Kwak. Yah Taza Kwak. Yah Taza Kwak. Okay, Yah Taza Kwak means laughter, because when the angel told Abraham that Abraham was going to have a son, and Sarah, Abraham being 99 and Sarah being about 90 years old, Sarah laughed. So that they ended up naming Isaac Laughter. Okay, so the next father of the promise, because Isaac had 2 sons, Jacob and Esau, and out of those 2 sons, the Lord only chose one, which was Jacob. Now the name Jacob comes from the Hebrew word Ya'aikwab. Ya'aikwab. Ya'aikwab means supplanter. You know, like to get over on somebody. He supplanted Esau for his birthright. You know, he supplanted Esau for his blessings. He supplanted Laban, you know, for the cattle and certain other things that he took from him, because Laban was, you know, basically wasn't dealing with Jacob correctly. You know, so his name is called supplanter, which means to get over on somebody. You know, and you have clowns that try to say that no, that's not what it means. That's exactly what it means, because that's what he did. That's why Esau said, is he not rightly named Jacob, or supplanter? You know, he said he supplanted them 2 times, you know, of his birthright and of his blessings. All right. So the next name we're going to deal with is Melchizedek, which Melchizedek is Malachya Tazadak. Malachya Tazadak. Or you could say Malak Tazadak. Malachya Tazadak. Malachya, or Malak, is king. You know, and Tazadak is righteous or righteousness. So king of righteousness, which Melchizedek is Yahushua in the reincarnation. You know, if you will receive it. All right, so Malakia Tazadak, or Malak Tazadak, which is King of Righteousness. Okay. Now the next important name that we're going to deal with is Joseph, which the name Joseph comes from the Hebrew word Yahwasap. Now the name Joseph, or Yahwasap, this looks like a Paleo Hebrew or ancient Hebrew I, or Lashawan Kodash I, but it's really supposed to be like this, as you see here. But when I copied and pasted it, for some reason it didn't give you that little lip, so that's a Sa, in case you were wondering. So Joseph is Yahwasap. Now the word Yahwasap, Yah is he, and Wasap is will add. So Yahwasap, he will add. And why was he named Joseph, or Yahwasap, he will add? Because even though Rebecca, you know, had given birth to Joseph, you know, really spiritually, when you look at it, through Joseph came Ephraim and Manasseh, and they were both joined, you know, or added to the 12 tribes, you know, because they were part of you know, the Lord used it that way for them two children to be a part of the 12 tribes, you know, 2 tribes. You know, they became 2 tribes. They didn't do it. The Lord didn't do that with any other of Jacob's sons, except for Joseph. You know, so spiritually, if you look at it, he will add means that, you know, he pretty much that the Lord added 2 tribes through Joseph. All right, so Yahwasap, he will add. Now the next name, that's another important name to know, is Esau, or Aishah. Aishah. Aishawa, Aishah. Now the word Aishah comes from, there's two words, or actually one word with a suffix. Aishash, what you see here, Aishash means wasted. You know, like your pigmentation being wasted, or being wasted, lack of color. And then the Wa is he. So Esau means wasted he, or wasted away is he. You know, because when you look up the name Esau in the blue letter Bible, they'll tell you it means hairy, you know, which doesn't mean hairy. The name Esau means wasted he, you know, and that was deep, because when he came out his mother's womb, he came out like one that didn't have any pigmentation, you know, or any color. You know, he looked like he was dead, pretty much. So that's the name. That was the next name, Esau, or Aishah. All right, the next name that you should know is Seir, or Sha'ayar. Sha'ayar. You know, there's sometimes it was spelled Sha'ayar, but in most places I saw it spelled Sha'ayar. Sha'ayar. You know, so whether you say Sha'ayar or Sha'ayar, the word Sha'ayar means hair, because this was a name of the mountainous regions that were in the land of what the so-called scholars call Petra, down in the land of Edom, and they look like a bunch of hairs. You know, if you look at your arm, you know, you got those little hairs on your arm, it kind of looks like a range of mountains. So that's why they were called Seir, or Sha'ayar, or Sha'ayar, hair. All right, the next one that's good to know is the name Edom. Now the name Edom comes from the Hebrew word Adawam. Now when you look at the Strong's Concordance, because remember, you know, they got good information in there, but they also go off. So what they did was they took all these different names, Hebrew names, and just added numbers to them and lumped certain names together, or certain words together, because the name Edom is a totally different word than the name Adam. All right, the name Edom is Adawam. That's how it's spelled, Adawam, which the name Adawam means red, like the color of Esau's skin, red. The so-called white men, they're red. They're not really white. They're red. All right, so Adawam equals red. All right, now the name Adam, Adama, the name Adama means ground. It's a total different word than Edom, but since they are spelt similar, they gave them the same. They put them together, or joined them together as one word, you know, but they're two totally different words. The name Edom means red, and the name Adam means ground. Okay? Because Adam was made of the deep, rich, dark soil of the planet, of the earth. But Edom was just red. You know, so there's two totally different words, you know, and people, these devils try to play on that. They try to say the name Adam means red, you know, like they say ruddy, and the word ruddy does not mean red. You know, it's a term to signify youthful beauty. You know, the next word is Kedar, and this is one of, I believe this is the second born or third born of Ishmael, and the name Kedar or Quadar is dark skinned, and the reason why Ishmael named Kedar that was because he came out very, very dark. He came out darker than any of his other brothers, so he called him Quadar, dark skinned. Remember, you have a range from a light brown to a dark brown. You know, a light brown consisting of, as they would say, high yellow. You know, so you have a dark brown and you have a light brown. So the name Kedar or Quadar is dark skinned. All right, the next word is Joshua, which Joshua's name is synonymous with Yahushai's name. They're the same name, both. Okay, Yahushai, Yahushai. Now Joshua's name was first Hosea, the son of Nun. But then once Moses is about to go back into the spirit world, or around that time when they were in the wilderness, Moses gave Hosea, he gave him the prefix Yah at the beginning, Yahushai or Joshua. Okay, so Yahushai, the Yah is he, and Yahushai means savior. All right, because he was going to be at that time the next leader to lead Israel into the promised land. All right, that's why the Spirit had Moses change his name from Hosea to Yahushai or to Joshua. All right, he's the savior. All right, the next one is Caleb, Calab. All right, and the name Caleb or Calab means dog. Okay, Calab is dog, and the name fit Caleb because he was very faithful. It was only him and Joshua that actually were ready to take down those Hamites, those Canaanites, and basically they said, look, these guys are ready. They are food. They're ready to be taken. They were the only two that gave a positive report about the land and the people of the land. The other 10 spies, they gave a bad report. You know, they gave, oh no, they're too tough for us, they're too strong for us, they're too tall, this and that and the other. And he was one of the only ones, him and Joshua were the only two that actually saw, you know, spiritually they saw that these people were ready to be taken. So that's why his name is called Caleb or Calab, which means dog, which, you know, like I said, a dog is faithful. All right, so I'm going to stop there, and Lord's will, I'll come back and do another part. I have more names to go through. I think, you know, this will be a good point to stop at, and with that, I hope you brothers learned something and were edified. Till the next time I say Shalom.
Let's start with this. You know the expression, nothing this good can last forever? Keep that in mind, because today, once again, we began the day with the stock market plunging almost 500 points. Now, I know what you're probably thinking just about now. A story about what the stock market did on one day is a fool's errand, and trust me, I don't want to be anybody's fool on this thing. But there are some important facts here that we should all probably be keeping tabs on as we look at this story. For example, the idea that the Federal Reserve can keep interest rates around 0% is kind of cool, right? Think about it. It's great to borrow almost for free, but it's also kind of unheard of. So ask yourself this very important question. If our so-called fixed economy was only fixed or stimulated artificially by having the Fed keep interest rates down around 0 for 9 years, then ask yourself, what's going to happen when those interest rates start to go up? Seriously, this is important. In other words, at some point, things have to be normalized, right? And you know what's not normal? free or almost free that's not normal. Free or not free is not normal. You know that. So here's what experts like David Stockman are pointing out right now. David Stockman's a pretty reliable guy, right? I mean, this guy was Ronald Reagan's budget director. Smart guy. What he and others like him are warning about is something called the household sector. What is it? All right. The household sector is guys like us, you know, schmoes like you and me, regular people. We buy, we spend, we borrow every single day. What have we done over the last decade? We, you, me, and others, and another 155 million of us, by the way. Not the big guys, not the big fat cats, just the regular folks who make up most of America. All right. We are the household sector, and we've amassed $15.2 trillion in debt. Once again, $15.2 trillion in debt is what we've amassed in the last decade. And in fact, and this is really interesting, as the economy has gotten better, we haven't paid down our debts, generally speaking, as Americans. We've actually borrowed more. Why? It's kind of simple. We had no incentive to pay it down because the Fed kept pushing interest rates down so low and kept them there. It actually encouraged us, as Americans, to go out and buy more stuff. So what happens? When the interest rates start to go back up, say they go up another point, or maybe 2 points. Well, here's the problem. When that happens, experts say, it's going to add $250 billion in interest expenses to our cumulative household budgets, all of us together. And that's one of the reasons that blips like what we saw today are more than just another down day on the Dow. Peter Schiff's going to be joining us in a little while, and he's going to be able to explain this for us. And the most important part is you're probably listening to this conversation we're having right now, and you're asking yourself, well, how's this going to affect me, right? It's going to affect you. And that's why you should listen to the conversation, because Peter's an expert on this, and he's been talking about it a lot. Oh, by the way, do you remember when your mother told you that nothing this good can last forever? She was right. I'm Rick Sanchez. Explaining things in full because we're not like them. This is RT America.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
السيارة وين؟
قدام الحوم في ورا هنا. ابدا عشرهم ابدا عشرهم. يا ابو جيب لي مسنة وقاطع. اللهم صل على سيدنا جيبوا كاس خير.
Thank you for joining me this weekend edition. I wanted to make sure and go live today and most likely tomorrow to make up for some weekday shows that I've missed. We have a lot of interesting stuff to go over, but I'm not going to be doing a TLEV research and review to follow this, but I will, however, be joining Titus on his live show, so be sure and jump over there and tune in once we're done with our live show here. We have a lot to talk about today, but first I want to note on something that, there's a lot of discussion going on in regard to just about everything that we talk about on this show and the independent media. There's a lot of misinformation flying around, a lot of that coming from the people trying to manipulate what we're doing, as well as just a lot of disingenuous people out there trying to spread things as fact that they can't prove. And one of the big topics today, as I covered on the last show, was about the migration going on. And there's a lot of people claiming they know what's going on with very little proof to back it up. Now, I'm not saying I have any further information either, but the bottom line is, especially those of you that watch this show and believe and embrace what I try to put forward, we need to be careful that we don't just believe claims just because somebody's saying them. We need to be careful that we don't believe claims about, the UN invading the United States, or that Israel's behind making this happen, or that, that other countries are behind making this happen, or any kind of other things that I've heard flying around. Any number of them could potentially be true. But it's important, as I always say, that we are better than the mainstream media. We can't jump on these false claims just because it suits a narrative that we want to be true or that we believe is true. Due diligence is important. Facts are important. So bear that in mind with everything that we hear, because there's a lot of people out there, even in the independent media, desperately trying to lead you astray. So keep that in mind. So for the first story of the day, a little follow-up on the Khashoggi story as well. Again, a story that is nothing in comparison to the real tragedy taking place in Yemen. But I find it to be important to cover this story to show you that contrast, as well as the lies surrounding this. This one from Zero Hedge, entitled "Global Anger Boils Over Saudi Response. We Will Never Allow a Cover-Up of Khashoggi Murder." This coming from Turkey. Kind of absurd to come from a country that is the least of rich countries that we should be trusting in any way. But of course, again, the focal point being that why so much anger and aggression and attention is being given to one person, well, such a tragedy is taking place that has been taking place for years now in Yemen that they still are not even acknowledging. Important thing to be asking ourselves. So a senior official in Turkey, Turkey's ruling party, said on Saturday that Turkey will never allow a cover-up of the Khashoggi killing. Remember, this is a country that just carried out a blood-soaked coup, executing and detaining thousands, which also seemed to just fly under the radar, of course, because they're a NATO ally. But interesting to think about that in comparison to this country trying to take the moral high ground about never allowing this to be covered up, except they still have yet to release the information they claim will prove they did it. If they really cared about not covering it up, they might just give the information they claim would prove all of this. Now, Saudi Arabia's latest version, I guess, of the story asks us to believe that Mr. Khashoggi died after becoming engaged in a brawl, a fistfight, with officials who had been sent to meet him there. Possibly the 15 Saudi nationals that flew in that night, but we'll let you think about that for yourself. U.S. President Donald Trump, when asked late on Friday whether he thought the Saudi explanation was credible, he replied, quote, I do. Now let that sink in regard to everything that we've heard so far to date in this story, because what he and the administration currently there occupying that White House decide ultimately will likely lead the fray. Now, the Saudi narrative of death by brawl, if you will, contrasts with Turkish media that they basically say a Saudi hit squad carried this out. Now, an autopsy expert as well that traveled to Istanbul to kill Khashoggi and then dispose of his body, which has yet to be found. All of this included in the contrasting story. Now, again, doesn't mean we should be trusting Turkey in any shape or form, but it's interesting to see the contrast here, especially knowing how they've lied about this story from the get-go and only recently admitted that there's a difference here. Now, Saudi officials told several journalists that his body, now admitting this, was handed over to what they're calling a local collaborator. Could that be a United States collaborator? That's something for you to consider, but a local collaborator for disposal. Now just think about what that means, and somebody just happens to die in a fistfight in your embassy and you just shuttle his body away to be dismembered and disposed of? This story continues to get more ridiculous. They say, while they also criticized Donald Trump specifically for allegedly trying to help top Saudi leaders escape meaningful accountability. This coming from Saudi officials. This story is getting out of hand. But again, we should be asking ourselves, why? What is this accomplishing? Other than a big fiasco and distraction from many other things, maybe, which we're going to talk about later in this show. Now, on Saturday, the Saudis defied calls for a probe when Saudi Arabia's judiciary said it enjoys full autonomy to deal with the case of the Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. The kingdom's justice minister, Walid al-Samini, said this in a statement issued by the state news agency SPA on Saturday. What that basically means is that they have complete control over how this goes forward. And understand that they have this because the United States allows this. Now, he added that Khashoggi case took place on Saudi sovereign territory, and it will be looked into by the Saudi courts when all procedures are complete, really driving that point home. Turkey again said it would soon share its evidence of the Khashoggi killing with the world, and a conclusive result of the investigation is close. But we are holding our breath to see the video and the audio they claim has proof. Again, if there was really a desire to let the truth come out, why they would be holding back on this is, I mean, anybody's guess. But there's, in any kind of an investigation, you don't hold back the damning evidence as you're working with the potential murderer to investigate themselves. Now, the White House, however, has repeatedly stated its reluctance to crack down on Saudi Arabia too forcefully over fears of losing hundreds of billions in lucrative weapons contracts, not to mention access to Saudi oil, which should always show you where the real importance lies for the U.S. oligarchy. Despite their aggressive claims about liberty and democracy and human rights, I guess, unless it threatens their oil trade and their arms deals. If there's even a hint of a rumor of such an allegation about Syria or Iran, the U.S. would already be drawing up battle plans. We have to understand this ridiculous contradiction. The absurdity of them wavering over, well, maybe we should, as there's evidence, whether the Turkish evidence even exists, there is plenty of evidence to suggest that, first of all, he died inside a Saudi consulate. What happened, we can speculate, but there's even evidence to suggest clearly that the Saudis were involved. The people that flew in, the people that left with bags and diplomatic immunity, the entire story. And the fact that they even lied first and said, oh yeah, he left already, and for weeks held to that story, and then said, oh, well, wait, he died in a brawl, and we sent his body away for disposal with a collaborator that we won't name. This is now the story, and they were failing to show you the beginning. Now, if any trace of this story was even brushing Saudi or Syria or Iran, I mean, a well-known terrorist group under the guise of the white helmets will breathe about some kind of a chemical attack, and Donald Trump will launch weapons at Syria. Now think about the contrast here as they're saying, well, maybe I don't think I kind of believe him. We have to worry about our arms trade. Just notice this. While we have verifiable crimes, many of you in the show don't need to be pressed on this point, but maybe the person who just finally tuned in is going, yeah, that's a good point. Why are they so focused? Oh, I forgot, because Syria and Iran are the bad guys, and they're the good guys. It's as simple as that. Now, the Saudis have already threatened Trump, which many may not even be aware of, saying that pushing too hard for retaliation against the Crown Prince or implementing Saudi sanctions, as they do with anybody at a whim, would be disastrous, and they would essentially retaliate. If any kind of sanctions that they will pass on Venezuela or any other groups for being destabilized after actions the U.S. caused. But now that we see that something went down and they're at the very least complicit, no, you do anything like that, which sounds very reminiscent of the way the United States acts to the International Criminal Court. Saying, no, you dare to investigate any of us and our allies, including Saudi Arabia, we will basically come at you. So why would we think it's any less of the Saudis doing the very same thing? They said, quote, if U.S. sanctions are imposed on Saudi Arabia, we will be facing an economic disaster that would rock the entire world. They said, quote, if the price of oil reaches $80, angered Donald Trump, no one should rule out the price jumping to $100, $200, or even double that figure. Now, they said this mess could ultimately throw the entire Muslim world into the arms of Iran, which would become closer to Riyadh than Washington, coming from Saudi Arabia. They said the truth is that if Washington imposes sanctions on Riyadh, it will stab its own economy to death, even though it thinks that it is stabbing only Riyadh. This coming from a staunch U.S. ally. Again, the focus here is the gross hypocrisy taking place, as Donald Trump is very clearly allowing them to get away with murder, as I see it, with the facts and the information we have at hand. Now, these very serious consequences, if it turns out that they're responsible, which is clear that they are, to what degree and how and is up for you to decide, but they clearly disposed of the body by their own admission. So again, holding our breath for these very serious consequences that I doubt will ever happen. For no other reason than it threatens the oil trade and their arms deals. Bottom line. Now, in a related story and a follow-up story that I wanted to touch on again, so we just recently talked about the UAE murder squad with U.S. personnel taking place in Yemen, killing politicians. And now a follow-up I wanted to touch on with some interesting points that were touched on by the Ron Paul Institute and Daniel McAdams and Ron Paul in an excellent article that's entitled, "Why Did an American Hit Squad Kill Politicians in Yemen?" That's an excellent question. But the points they brought up in here are additions to what we recently talked about, which I found to be very important, especially in light of this recent seeming hit squad attack on a Washington Post journalist in Turkey. Could this have been potentially what we're talking about here? Now, Daniel McAdams wrote, while Washington is in a frenzy over the apparent Saudi government murder of a Saudi Washington Post journalist, little attention is being paid to the news that the United Arab Emirates hired a guns-for-hire company founded by an Israeli American, which I find to be very important, to assassinate members of a political party in Yemen. Pentagon and CIA-trained special operations troops were used to carry out assassinations, including a plan to blow up the party's headquarters building. Think about this. Now it says, while Russian involvement in our elections has even yet to be proven, certainly blowing up a foreign political party headquarters and assassinating its leaders qualifies as election meddling, wouldn't you say? But of course, it's the U.S., so it's not the same thing. This again, let's just make hypocrisy the day of the word. The word of the day, as it could be almost all the time on this show in regard to the foreign policy contradictions we talk about. But it's absurd to see this. Now, as I said in the recent show covering this topic, starting in 2015, the United Arab Emirates sent a group of about a dozen, mostly American private contractors to Yemen to conduct targeted killings of prominent clerics and political figures. Imagine how if this was in reverse, if Russia had done this, if Syria had done this, if Iran had done this. But again, I always go back to this good guys and bad guys, childlike veil over the world. Now, in Yemen, UAE has played a lead role in the ongoing Saudi coalition bombing campaign. That's important to understand in this whole thing, as they are just yet another piece in this human rights violating puzzle that we're looking at. While they continue to point the finger at so many other people, they're arguably doing none of these things. Now, the American assassination squad, as I pointed out before, receives $1.5 million a month. And to give it a veneer of legal protections and immunity to these contractors doing illegal things, the United Arab Emirates actually commissioned the group as officers in the UAE military. These are U.S. military personnel at the moment holding dual whatever you would call it, authority in a different country's military with uniforms, IDs, and everything to carry out assassinations in another country. It's also revealed that one of the kill team contractors had been part of the CIA's own Special Forces paramilitary team, and another was actually still active in the SEALs and the Navy Reserve, and of course possessed a top secret clearance, while killing Yemen politicians for the UAE, and who knows what else. Hopefully that is the most relevant story of the week when it comes to what we're talking about and what possibly went down in the Saudi consulate in Turkey. How, we will never know because the Saudis are completely running the investigation of themselves. And Donald Trump's like, yep, I believe his story. Let's just forget about this and move forward. Probably what's going to happen, unless you continue talking about it. Moving on to the next story, something I think is very important that got very little attention that some people have been sending to me, and I wanted to follow up on myself and make sure that I looked into this. This coming from Global Research, entitled ISIS Captures 700 Hostages, Including U.S. and UE Citizens. Now, this story I found to be very important. Again, this is one of those stories, you can, take with a grain of salt. You can choose not to think that because it's coming from Vladimir Putin, which has also actually been followed up from other people, by the way, but he's the one that put this out there. But because it came from him, you could choose to just dismiss it outright if you'd like. But that's not very intelligent coming from any source. Whether it be mainstream media, Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin, Iran or Syria or Russia or Israel, it doesn't matter. You should be taking information as it comes and vetting it, doing your due diligence. And this story, as I see it, seems to be pretty legit, but you may come to your own conclusions. ISIS has apparently captured 700 hostages, including U.S. and European citizens, in Syria, and is killing 10 people a day. This according to Russian President Vladimir Putin, which he said during a Valdai Discussion Club's 15th annual meeting on October 18th. Now, first of all, that ISIS would do this, or any of these U.S.-backed, funded, armed, protected groups, extremist groups throughout the world would do this, is not much of a shock. So why is this story so aggressively being denounced by so many people? That usually says something about maybe its validity. Again, come to your own conclusions. He criticized U.S. forces for this catastrophic failure, adding that the terrorists, quote, have delivered ultimatums and made certain demands, threatening to shoot 10 people every day. Now, this again coming from Putin, and said the terrorists already started carrying out their threats and executed 10 hostages just 2 days ago. From the 18th, he said this. So, this is a big deal, and we have to ask ourselves why this is happening. Knowing the very clear, undeniable connections to ISIS as a whole, as well as all these other extremists, I could name all of them off for you, right back to the U.S., Israel, and Saudi Arabia. What is this? Why is this happening? What are they trying to accomplish? Taking attention away from something else that's going to happen? Are they trying to continue to destabilize Syria, which is very clearly part of the plan, as even the U.S., their own mouths have said this, that they want to maintain the destabilization of Syria. So this seems like that would lead to exactly that. Now, on October 17th, the Russian news agency TASS reported, citing a military diplomatic source, that the hostages were captured by ISIS in the province of Deir ez-Zor during a failed advance of the U.S.-backed Syrian Democratic Forces and the U.S.-led coalition. Now, as if we needed any more information to really understand what we're talking about here, this is what we've talked about many times on this show. This little sliver of gray right in the center of the map there, right between the red and the yellow in the Euphrates, right on the other side of the Euphrates. It's important to understand what we're looking at here. Here's a little closer picture for you. That is ISIS territory. That little sliver of gray in the yellow, which is U.S.-controlled Kurdish territory, U.S.-controlled territory, has been there from the beginning. As they claim to be fighting ISIS, this little snugged, packed-away area where ISIS has continued to thrive, dance back and forth, and attack Syria. And every time they do, ISIS or the United States themselves will swing in and defend them. How many articles have we reported on where U.S. is acting as ISIS's air force and defending them against Syria? Ask yourself if they were really fighting ISIS while they will allow this little sliver of ISIS territory to be snugged away right inside U.S. territory on the other side of the Euphrates. It's an honest question. No one has ever tried to answer this, at least on the U.S. side. They ignore this. But this is where we're talking about. As, again, this area that we've also recently talked about, the area further back on the left side, right on the left side of where that little gray smudge is, there used to be a much larger swath of ISIS territory that's no longer there. That's because Syrian troops has removed it. And as they continue to try to remove that little sliver, U.S. troops, or U.S.-backed troops in U.S.-controlled areas, stop them. So bearing this in mind, in regard to this little area, understanding that they're now reportedly holding American and EU hostages in this area, what else do we need to know to understand that the U.S. is allowing this to take place? That's my opinion. But please do, as always, come to your own conclusions about what this ultimately means. Now, according to the Syrian state media, U.S.-led coalition warplanes, in addition, bombed civilian buildings in the village of Al-Susa, killing and injuring multiple civilians. In addition to all of the horrible things, the U.S.-led coalition is often avoiding to comment on these reports. However, even Amnesty International themselves have said repeatedly that Washington is hiding the real number of civilian casualties as a result of its operations in Syria, as we reported on countless times on this very show. I don't know how much more information we really need to see to understand what they're really accomplishing here. Clearly, they're trying to destabilize Syria. Clearly, they're trying to overthrow Assad. But in doing so, they are supporting the very people, the very extremists, that they use as the justification to carry out their war on terror. This is the most despicable contradiction that anybody could carry out. It's hypocrisy at its finest. And they use this guise of humanitarianism to kill the very people they pretend to be fighting for. These are the true villains of the day, people. And we need to begin to recognize this. Now, moving on to the same related idea of the villainy that has infiltrated everything, it seems, in regard to U.S. policy, this coming from anti-media, and the man himself, John Bolton, pushes Trump to withdraw from Russian nuclear treaty. Now, this is an important story, but there's a lot to this. Now, years of U.S. allegations that Russia is violating the Intermediate Nuclear Forces Treaty, as it's called, the INF, may essentially be coming to a head today, recently, now, with John Bolton reportedly pushing hard for Trump to withdraw outright from this pact. Right? Don't try to point them out and say, look at Russia breaking this treaty. Don't try to say, let's figure this out and make this treaty work. No, say, look, they're breaking it, so we're just going to stop the treaty. Because that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it really reveals, they use this thin veil of claiming that, well, they're not doing it, so there's no reason we should even be in it. But really take a moment and think about what that means. A treaty that is meant to de-escalate nuclear tensions between nuclear superpowers. So when somebody else is violating, instead of gathering the world community and saying, look at them as the bad guy we're trying to show everybody, no, they just pull out of things like this, which shows you that they don't want to be in this. It has nothing to do with Russia, and I'll get to more on that in a moment. Now, instead of negotiating over these questions, Bolton wants the U.S. to just withdraw, despite that being a major escalation of tensions with Russia, which I would say he clearly wants. The State Department and Pentagon officials are actually opposed to this. U.S. Ambassador Kay Bailey Hutchinson actually suggested that the U.S. was preparing for a preemptive attack against Russia. Maybe one of those preemptive counterattacks we've been hearing so much about, and, quote, take out the missiles they consider a violation. That is unbelievable. Likely just talk, but even saying such a thing is something that should be in our nightmares. That's the beginning of World War III. That is a big deal, and hopefully we don't see that. Now, in a related story, directly related, moving actually to the actions being taken place, in fact, Trump to pull out of the U.S. pull the U.S. out of the 1987 nuclear weapons treaty with Russia. This coming from Trump. Now, President Trump actually said on Saturday that he plans to abandon the 1987 Arms Control Treaty that has, on paper at least, prohibited the U.S. and Russia from deploying intermediate-range nuclear missiles, as Russia has continued to, quote, repeatedly violate, as they say, its terms according to the President of the United States, Donald Trump. Now, he goes on, this coming from, what says, quote, we're not going to let them violate a nuclear agreement, coming from Donald Trump on Saturday, after a campaign. He said, we're going to terminate the agreement, point blank. Now, again, whether this happens, Trump says a lot of stuff. A lot of times he says things that don't happen. Whether that's planned and calculated or it's just because he's flying out off the seat of his pants and people like John Bolton, maybe the real leaders of this country, pull him back. Come to your own conclusions about that. I think you know where I stand, but I can't say I know for sure. But whether it happens is yet to be determined. But the fact that he point blank said we are going to terminate this agreement is a big deal. Now, the pact has limited the U.S. from deploying weapons to counter the burgeoning military threat posed by China in the Western Pacific. So do you think that maybe gives them a reason to want to end this pact? Because China is not involved in this pact. So stopping them from deploying weapons to counter China, maybe they just want to get rid of this pact to actually be able to do what they want to do in regard to China. Do you think that plays into their decision-making process? Do you think that would justify them making false accusations about Russia while they've led a career of false accusations against Russia? Probably. So think about that and understand that we've been lied to repeatedly, incessantly by these people and many in previous administrations about all kinds of foreign policy. So we have to consider that they're likely lying to us about this in order to break this agreement so they can continue to escalate other tensions with other nuclear powers on the other side of the world. because that's what they do. Russian President Vladimir Putin appeared to try and get in front of this and the U.S.'s decision to leave. And this week, when he declared that Russia would abide by a policy of non-aggression regarding its nuclear arsenal, agreeing only to use its nuclear weapons if it is attacked first, which essentially are just words, but something, in fact, the U.S. has refused to do, even in a lot of ways embracing an attack-first policy, which is pretty alarming. Again, something that's almost unprecedented in regard to the past administrations and countries' policies of trying to de-escalate the risk of nuclear war, which has ramped up to 10 since Trump has been elected. And I'm not saying that's Donald Trump's fault, but very clearly all of the very hawkish, military-minded people that he's gathered around him. Some of the worst I've ever seen. Now, the question of whether Russia is actually violating the INF is the real question here. Russia argues the missiles in question are not in violation of the treaty, point blank. Well, U.S. officials have never even attempted to prove that they are. They just repeatedly claim such violations happened. That sound familiar at all? Like what they're saying about Syria, like what they're saying about Iran, like what they're saying about Venezuela, like what they're saying about any number of things without actually having facts to back it up. Just saying, trust us, we've got proof, they say so, and just never showing us anything. But that doesn't mean we should trust Russia either. But in fact, they have supported the information that they brought forward and shown that they feel that what they can show clearly, they're not violating the deal, and here's why. And in fact, many, including Russia, have long voiced concerns that the U.S. itself has already been violating this treaty for years, as we reported on the last time we talked about this story. So think about all of this in regard to as this escalates, and ask yourself, who has been escalating these kind of dramas in the world, these kind of potential war scenes, even just in the last so many years? But before, with Bush and Obama and whoever else, who has been the catalyst here? Who has been the aggressor? And ask yourself if maybe this is just one more treaty to pump out of the way so they can continue to do so. Bolton, somebody who has repeatedly called for aggression with North Korea, for Russia, for Iran, for all of these people. And he's the one leading this charge. Think about that. In a related story, in another story, semi-domestic policy-ish, I would say, following this with a domestic policy story to finish off the show today, I found this to be very interesting. This is a story that kind of slipped under my radar. It's kind of the follow-up to a story that I really tried to avoid because there was not a lot to go on. But a lot of people jumped on this story, even people that I trust. But I'm glad that I did not, at least as this goes so far. This isn't solid for this story just yet, but it shows you another side of this. But we should always be questioning everything, as always, but asking questions. This story coming from Extreme Tech, entitled Apple Denies Bloomberg Chinese Hacking Story to Congress. Now, this is interesting, because this story seems like it kind of came and went really quickly, and everyone just, well, looks like China is involved in our technology. Not very a big shocking story. Well, of course, they're trying to. I don't think that surprises anyone. The U.S. is doing the same thing aggressively all over the world. Doesn't justify either side. But the interesting story here is that we all took this story at face value. Bloomberg says China is hacking everything we have, showing the little diagrams of rice-sized whatever inside of all of our technology. Chips inside of all of our technology. But the reality of the story seems to be crumbling right in front of them. But is that the lie? Something we need to be asking ourselves, but we should not be taking anything at face value. Now, ultimately, what has been developing since this, that article is actually from the 8th. So as I said, this kind of flew under my radar, but just yesterday and today, it's actually developed even further. Because as I've seen, the Department of Homeland Security has come out with an entire statement saying that the entire Bloomberg story is false. Which is kind of interesting because I've seen other U.S. personnel embrace this story as a way to continue to spend more on the military-industrial complex, using that as justification to sell or get rid of other material that could potentially be threatened by China and just buying all new equipment. In addition to this, what I found oddly, weeks after this story, which is interesting, Apple CEO Tim Cook is now openly calling for Bloomberg to retract the entire story. Point blank saying that Bloomberg's story is false. And right now, today, recently calling for a complete retraction. Again, with the backing of the Department of Homeland Security. So, was this all a fraud? Was this entire story fake? Was this all propaganda designed to do a certain thing? Was this propaganda designed to allow them to spend more money on the military? If so, why is the Department of Homeland Security agreeing that the story is false? There's a lot of crossed wires here. But according to Bloomberg Business Week's investigation, this is a result of more than a year of reporting, during which they conducted more than 100 interviews, they say. 17 individual sources, including government officials and insiders at these very companies. Apparently, they confirmed the manipulation of the hardware and other elements of the attacks. They say, quote, "We stand by our story and are confident in our reporting and our sources." But as always, so many of these sources are just things that they say, unnamed sources within the government, which we're just supposed to agree with. But it's interesting to see this contrasting even from the government. Again, this was a story that was taken at face value by so many people to point out the weaknesses of the U.S. government, or in contrast, to show that China's a big threat and Trump's doing the right thing. Interestingly enough, using any story like this to bend to whichever side you are on their false two-party paradigm. But as the article points out, yet here we are, 5 days later, and the findings Bloomberg alleged have not been confirmed by any other outlets. The companies involved continue to strongly protest. Bloomberg continues to say just as strongly that it stands by its story. The potential involvement of national security complicates things because the federal government is perfectly capable of ordering a company to just lie about whether it's received a message. Yet companies that are lying tend to err on the side of saying precisely what they can say and precious little else. It's the surest way to stay out of trouble. Could the story and strongly worded denials still be part of a national security story meant to sow fear, uncertainty, and doubt about what the United States actually knows or doesn't know about the intelligence capabilities of China? Sure. At this point, that makes as much sense as anything, but the fundamentals of this situation don't make much sense, period. And with that, I completely agree. But think about what they're saying there. The reality, as we know, about the legalization of propaganda in this country and the Smith Modernization Act. Could this just be an aggressive national security lie in order to do one of any number of things? Something we need to consider. I just wanted to put that out there, make sure you had all of the facts in this story, because it seems like this was a foregone conclusion that China had hacked all of our Apple material and hacked everything in this country, and oh my God, it's a big China invasion. One of any number of things like that, with a lot of conclusions and conjecture and supposition with not a lot of facts to back it up. For the final story of the day, this coming from Anti-Media for, indeed, some domestic policy news, which is a little bit alarming to me. Interestingly, involving the Pentagon, which who knows why the Pentagon should be involved in anything on domestic soil. This entitled, "For Next Weapon in Anti-Protest Arsenal. U.S. military building plasma gun capable of vaporizing human flesh." Sure, because that's what you need for anti-protests. Guns, apparently, that can vaporize human flesh. Again, why the Pentagon is involved in this? It should be very alarming to us, this military police state that is arising around us while people are blinding themselves to the truth. So recent reporting out of the Pentagon reveals that the U.S. military, again, the military, is working on perfecting what they call a scalable, compact, ultra-short pulse laser system, or plasma gun for short, intended for mounting on a truck or a tank. Anti-protest guns on a tank, that makes sense. Billed as the military's latest crowd control technology, what has this ultimately is under the guise of non-lethal, which is clearly not. This weapon's designed for use by militaries or police forces against unruly demonstrators, for those standing against powerful state actors or corporate forces. Now, usually they try to frame this as some kind of a crowd control in some third world country that you never have to look at. But these things always have a way of finding them right in our streets and our towns, as they always have. But they're not even trying to do that this time. This is straight up for crowd control. Boom. Something that could vaporize your flesh. Sure, that makes a lot of sense. Now, according to U.S. government documents, the aim of the ongoing project is to develop, quote, a lightweight and energy-efficient next-generation ultra-short pulse laser system that can produce sustainable and controllable plasma at range capable of inducing a full spectrum of scalable non-lethal effects. As a so-called scalable weapon, it will be able to shoot not only piercing sounds, but also apparently burn off or vaporize human skin. And, of course, ultimately could be used to kill. But, non-lethal. We're just going to say that, even though we can kill it. Of course, a gun can be non-lethal if you pop someone in the head with it, but it can also be turned around and shoot somebody with. This ridiculous narrative that this is some kind of a non-lethal weapon is ridiculous. But this is the next generation of crowd control in this country. Ask her again, why the Pentagon and the military is involved in any kind of a weapon that's going to be used domestically on Americans needs to be alarming to us. But it's become normal. Our police have become the military. It's something that we need to recognize. This idea of the boiling frog. If you don't know that whatever you want to call it, that fable, that narrative, that story, the idea of that a frog, if put in boiling water, will hop right out. However, if you put that frog in cold water and slowly turn up the temperature, it'll stay in there until it dies. And this is, in fact, an old story. But realize what that means to what's happening around us. That things are changing, things are rising, the heat is going up for your own protection, of course. But let that sit in. Reflect on all this information. Share this with everybody you care about, you know, or even the ones you hate. Get this information out there to everybody. Because it's important that we share these things and talk about it. And research the stuff. Dive into this. Don't just listen to what I have to say. Make sure you hop over and join me. I'll be joining Titus on his live stream following this show directly. I'll be right over there in a few minutes, so jump over and watch that show as well. And as always, question everything. Come to your own conclusions. Stay vigilant.
Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders of Great Millstone and salutations. Shalom to the Akim out there, the brethren, pushing this truth and sincerity on the highways and the byways as we were commanded to. And I got a few scripts stating on how the earth will be cleansed. Because in World War III, during the nuclear fire from the ICBMs, the intercontinental ballistic missiles, the arrows that the scriptures speak about, those missiles, those arrows, is what's going to cleanse this earth, because fire and water are the main cleansing agents, and the earth already has been cleansed with water the first time during the time of Noah, and this second go around, the earth is going to be cleansed with fire during nuclear warfare, World War III. That lake of fire is going to be here in America, Babylon, Babylon, Rome, Egypt, all those wicked kingdoms, all mixed together in one, is going to be cleansed by fire, by the nuclear fire, and this is where the lake of fire is going to be, and I'm going to get straight into it, This is Isaiah chapter 24, verse 4. The earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languisheth and fadeth away. The earth mourneth and fadeth away. The earth languisheth. The earth is fucked up right now. The earth is fucked up right now. And everything on it is fucked up. The air is fucked up. The water's fucked up. The crops fucked up. The animals fucked up. Everything is on the brink of extinction. And if Esau, which is the so-called Caucasian race, if they were to continue to have rulership and power, everything on this planet will come to naught. Everything on this planet will be extinct. Everything on this planet will die off. All the natural resources will be used up. All the water will be polluted and gone. All the animals will die off, including the human race would even die off if Edom was to continue to have rulership on this earth, because this earth is filthy. This earth is filthy. It's polluted. The ones ruling don't follow the correct code, the law, statutes, and commandments. Everything just tore up, and the earth mourneth, and we mourn too, because the people fucked up too. We at the lowest we could possibly be at. Our bodies is nowhere near as strong, healthy or fast as it should be or could be. You know, everything is just defiled. The food we eat, the air we breathe, and the water we drink. The earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof. The earth is defiled under the inhabitants thereof. And who are the inhabitants? Well, number one, everybody on this motherfucking earth is an inhabitant of the planet Earth. But the main people this script is particularly getting at is Esau, and how he's completely defiling the earth and defiling the planet with these plants, these factories, these nuclear tests, these tests with viruses and diseases, chemicals, plastic, oil, you name it. Every time you turn around, there's a mass oil spill somewhere in the ocean or in the body of water, killing off countless numbers of fish in marine life. You know, that also affects the people on dry land too, because we eat what comes out of the sea. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws. They have transgressed the laws. There's land laws. There's laws on everything on how you're supposed to go about it. For instance, a land Sabbath, you're supposed to let the land rest after so many years, so it can replenish, and have the nourishment and minerals and material that it needs. But instead, Esau continues to just take, dig, and pump, and pump. Know what I'm saying? You pumping in the earth, and you sucking from the earth, you digging in the earth, and you taking from it continuously, and not giving the earth a break. The earth is a living organism. The earth is a living organism that breathes and lives. All right, the earth is alive, and Esau is killing it, along with the other heathen nations and the people and the inhabitants thereof, because the earth languish and mourneth. The earth is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. They've broken the everlasting covenant, and the covenant is the covenant of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Therefore hath the curse devoured the earth. The curse hath devoured the earth. The earth is being devoured. The earth is devoured, and the earth is mourning and fading away. And they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left. And the inhabitants of the earth will be burned by nuclear fire, in World War III, by nuclear missiles, the intercontinental ballistic missiles. In World War III, which is the arrows that the scriptures speak of. All right, and I'm going to jump to verse 19, Isaiah 29. The earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean dissolved. Because when those missiles hit and that fire breaks out, the earth will be cleansed. Okay? The earth is clean dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly. Because when those missiles hit, the earth will be moved exceedingly. The earth will shake. There will be earthquakes, tsunamis, tidal waves, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, you name it. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. All right, the earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard. During World War III, the earth is gonna be staggering. The earth gonna be motherfucking staggering. It's gonna be chaotic. It's gonna be chaotic when the motherfucking missiles hit. It's going to be real, and the earth is going to be clean dissolved, because that heat from them nuclear missiles is going to be real as fuck. And it's going to be able to burn anything, dissolve anything. Because it say the earth is clean dissolved. Everything will be dissolved. Everything will be burnt. Shit, the air even going to be burnt. The fucked up shit in the air even going to be burnt. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth. And who are the ones on high, and who are the kings of the earth, and who are the rulers of this society, and who are the rulers of this kingdom? The elite out of the nation of Edom. Okay, Esau, Edomites, the so-called Caucasian race are the high ones. They are the kings, they are the rulers. This is the white man's world right now. And they will be punished. It said the Lord shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high. And who are on high? These banking families are on high. These top elite heathen nations are on high. That helps run shit, that helps control shit. But ultimately Esau, Edom, this is his world right now. He got the stage, he got the spotlight, and he's gonna get punished. His time is coming to an end very soon. This is Isaiah chapter 34. And all the host of heaven shall be dissolved. The host of heaven shall be dissolved. And the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. That's a mushroom cloud. That scroll, you know, not everything in the scriptures is symbolic or metaphorically speaking, but some scriptures are symbolic and metaphorically speaking because the prophets explain things the best of their capability. But the men in this truth understand what that's talking about when it says the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. That's a mushroom cloud that's going to be given from the nuclear missiles. And all their hosts shall fall down, and the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, which is the Edomites, and upon the people of my curse to judgment, because everybody is going to feel that destruction. Everybody is going to be involved in that besides the elect of the nation of Israel, which will receive salvation, which will be taken up by the chariots. And because the earth will be clean, will be cleansed by fire. And I'm gonna close with this script. This is this is 2 Peter's. This is 2 Peter's chapter 3 verse 10. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, because the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, when except for the watchmen, of course. The watchmen, which are the men in this truth, the men that go out on the highways and the byways, and the ones that actually pay attention to what the fuck is going on, we gonna know what's up. But the earth will come, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise. Because it's gonna be real noisy during World War III. It's gonna be real noisy when this motherfucking hundreds of thousands of missiles flying in the air and hitting the earth. Was passed away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat, and the earth also and the works that are in shall be burned up. Okay, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat, and the elements is what? The elements is air, water, oxygen, you name it. I'm saying that's the elements shall melt with fervent heat, because it's gonna be so hot from that nuclear fire, and everything is gonna be dissolved. And certain parts of the world will be completely destroyed and will be non-inhabitable forever and ever. Like Babylon. Babylon, once after World War III, America, which is Babylon, will not be inhabitable by men ever again, forever and ever. And the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up, because, like I said, that nuclear fire is going to wipe out a lot of shit. Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons, what kind of character, what kind of person ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness? What manner of person will we be? Will we be upright and just, and a decent individual that diligently seek the Lord? once he returns, because that's the goal. The goal is to seek salvation and seek salvation. Diligently seek Yahweh Shem Yahushai, diligently seek righteousness, and diligently seek salvation. So with that, I want to give all praises and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Brakak and double honors to the elders of Great Millstone, and shalom to the Akim out there pushing this truth and sincerity and depth to America. Shalom.
Shalom. Apostle Tahar coming back at you with this truth, giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakah, Kodash. And I'm going to entitle this video, Then It Shall Be Known Who Are My Chosen. And, basically I'm going to just go with the spirit. I didn't plan anything. I didn't put no scriptures together, so whatever scriptures come to mind, I'll bring them up. But first of all, I'd like to start with this topic on the word derelict. And I don't have to go into why I'm bringing up the word derelict. You know why. Anyway, we're not derelicts. And if you look up the word derelict, if you look up the word derelict and you go to the etymon of the word, or the etymology of the word, you will find that, let me bring it up. First of all, I'm going to bring up etymon. Okay, so let me put that word in. And let's see as the true definition of the word derelict. Then it says dereliction. It says see derelict, sense of act of leaving with an intention not to reclaim or refuse. It's from 1610's meaning a failure, unfaithfulness, neglect with regard to duty. That's where you get the word dereliction of duty. Dereliction of duty. Dereliction of duty. I'll say this dereliction, from the word derelict, the state of having been abandoned and become dilapidated or dilapidated. I'm sorry. The shameful failure to fulfill one's obligation. So unfaithfulness. It says dereliction of duty is a specific offense under United States Code Title 10, which is the military code, Section 892, Article 92, and applies to all branches of the U.S. military. A service member who is derelict has willfully refused to perform his duties. So we're soldiers of the Most High, spiritual soldiers of the Most High, and you know, our duty is to do this work. It says here in St. John, I believe it's 4. I'll find out in a minute. Okay, it says right here, in St. John 4, verse 34, Yahushua saith unto them, my meat is to do the will of him that sent me and to finish his work. So that's his duty. That's why he was sent down here. Now, if he was to do, maybe go and marry some woman or just go about his business, that would be considered dereliction of duty. And you do that because of lack of faith. Now it says in the scriptures that, you know, once you come into this truth, you have to you know, you have to deal with this thing until the end, until the mission is done, so to speak. Another scripture on dereliction of duty, and we bring this out quite a bit, is Luke 9:62. And Yahushua said unto him, no man having put his hand to the plow and looking back is fit for the kingdom of the Most High. So that would be dereliction of duty. You know, you come into this thing and you say that you're going to serve the Most High and do his will, and then you put a certain amount of time in and then you fall out and you go back in the world. Well, that's a dereliction of duty. So derelict or dereliction means to be unfaithful. And I'm faithful. I've been in this thing for over 30 years and haven't stopped, haven't slowed down. What I was set up to do was do the will of the Father. And what he gave me was his book, as he gave unto y'all. And we read this book and we do the will of him that sent us, that raised us up. And nobody on the planet could tell me that I'm derelict or dereliction of duty, because I haven't slowed down. Every winter, last winter we was out there all winter. This year we plan to be out there all winter, all year round. We're out there on the highways and the byways, and during the week we're doing sit downs. So we're the complete opposite of a derelict or dereliction or unfaithful. And the title of this video is found in 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter. Then it shall be known who are my chosen. Because we believe that we're the chosen. We believe that we're the men of the Lord. We believe that we're the prophets. And we're doing exactly what the Most High, the Spirit of the Most High have given us. Like, for example, the mark of the beast, as far as other scriptures go, we deal with the mark of the beast being a microchip. And when we first brought that out, it was guys that came up against us, different groups came up against us, not believing it. Some do believe it and not really push it. Hey, that's that's us blowing that trumpet. In 1 Corinthians the 14th chapter, and rather that ye prophesy. And the word prophesy means to say before. So, when you call us derelicts, that we're unfaithful, you're really fighting against the Most High. Acts 5. And the Most High is getting ready to do some things. He's getting ready to open up. He's getting ready to speed things up. And we can see it. Why do you think we're always putting up videos? We put up videos every day. It says, Acts 5 verse 37, after this man rose up, Judas of Galilee, in the days of the taxing, and drew away much people after him, he also perished, and all, even as many as obeyed him, were dispersed. So you had Israelites that they were being heavily taxed by the Romans, or by the Roman Empire. So they were revolting against that. And the whole 70 AD scenario took place because they were being overly taxed. And that's what's happening now in this country, in America. Somebody said that you're basically being taxed almost about 50% of what you make, because you pay all kind of taxes. When you go to the gas station, you pay a tax. When you buy certain things at the supermarket, you pay a tax. When you buy clothing, when you buy shoes, when you buy anything that you buy, with exception of a few things, like if you buy a bag of rice, you don't got to pay a tax. But if you buy a plate of rice that's cooked, you're gonna have to pay a tax on it. So if you were to, and then a lot of taxes are within the price of the item that you purchase. Like, for example, when you fill up the gas tank, all the taxes are within the price. So you don't know how much of that, how much you're paying for gas and how much you're paying in taxes. And this is why we say this is Rome all over again. And Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua is getting ready to destroy this place. He's getting ready to use, I find it hard to believe that the Most High is going to push Trump out and set up a new guy to lead Babylon to the war of Armageddon. I believe Trump is going to do it because he's the right man for the job. He's a wild man. He's a wild man, and people see that. It says, and now I say unto you, refrain from these men. Like, for example, us. People that come against us, they're really not coming against us. They're coming against the Most High. Because number one, we're calling on the name of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua. We're teaching about the 12 tribes. We're doing everything that the scriptures say to do. And let them alone, for if this counsel or this work be of men, because it says in Romans, the 10th chapter, it says they set themselves up to do their own will. Matter of fact, let me get it so I can read it word for word. Or their own righteousness, I'm sorry. Okay, it says, the third verse, for they being ignorant of the Most High's righteousness and going about to establish their own righteousness have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of the Most High. You know, this truth that we got is simple, plain and simple. You go out on the highways and the byways and you bring out the scriptures. You say, you make a statement and then you back it up with a scripture. This is not rocket science. Science. This is nothing difficult. You read, you learn the scriptures, eat the roll, then go out and teach the children of Israel. You know, you got some groups that say Gentiles can make it and Edomites can make it. That's nowhere in the scriptures. It says, I'm back in Acts 5, verse 38. And now I say unto you, refrain from these men and let them alone. For if this counsel or this work be of men, it will come to naught. Well, I've been in this thing for 30 years. And I'm still out there doing what I did 30 plus years ago. And the examples were the teachers over us. At all the different Israelite groups, One West is known for going out on the highways and the byways, pursuant to the scriptures. It says, but if it be of the Most High, ye cannot overthrow it, lest haply ye be found even to fight against the Most High. '40th verse, and to him they agreed. And when they had called the apostles and beaten them, they commanded that they should not speak in the name of Yahushua and let them go. Now these men are back here today, and the Most High is going to destroy every last one of them. And there's no way they can repent. There's no way they can come into this truth. They're sealed. They're sealed, man. And they were sealed during the time of Yahushua. And John, the 8th chapter, and you can start at the 12th, well, you can read the whole chapter, but around about the 20th verse on down, he told them that they were of this world and that he was not of this world. And that they were going to die in their sins because they have no Savior. They have no a sacrificial lamb, which Yahushua is a sacrificial lamb. So like I said, this is serious, man. This truth right here is serious. You can't play games with this truth. You can't play games with this truth. There's a scripture that was bear with me for a minute. Galatians 1 verse 6. I marvel that ye are so soon removed from him that called you into the grace of Yahushua unto another gospel, which is not another, but there be some that trouble you and would pervert the gospel of Yahushua. So if we're teaching a certain thing, all these other groups are supposed to teach the same thing. It says that you all speak the same thing. It says 8th verse. But though we or an angel from heaven, you got guys that might say, well, an angel came to me and spoke to me and told me to teach this, this is what that means. And we know that it's clearly not scriptural. You don't follow that individual. Preach any other gospel unto you than that which we have preached unto you, let him be accursed. So, for example, I always bring up the mark of the beast. The mark of the beast being a microchip is correct. And all you other groups should have followed suit and start teaching it. It says in the 10th, jumping down to the 10th verse, Galatians 1 verse 10. For do I now persuade men or the Most High, or do I seek to please men? For if I yet please men, I should not be the servant of Yahushua. Bear with me for a minute. I'm looking for a particular scripture. Here it is. You know what? There's a couple of places I can read it from. This is Matthew 18 verse 6. But I was going to the one in Luke 17. It says, but whoso shall offend one of these little ones, and we are the little ones, which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depths of the sea. So the Most High is going to deal with a lot of you guys for coming up against what the men of the Lord is teaching. It says in Isaiah 62 and 6. I have set watchmen upon thy walls, O Jerusalem, which shall never hold their peace day nor night. Ye that make mention of Yahweh, keep not silence, and give him no rest till he establish and till he make Jerusalem a praise in the earth. That's when the kingdom is established. That's when we can stop. That's when we can rest. It says in Isaiah 58 verse 1, cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgressions, in the house of Jacob their sins. Yet they seek me daily, and delight to know my ways, as a nation that did righteousness, and forsook not the ordinance of the Most High. They ask of me the ordinance of justice. They take delight in approaching to the Most High. And basically that's who we're looking for, the ones that wake up to this and take a step forward and come into this thing and become a part of the camp and become a reader and then become a teacher. And the rest of them, we supposed to curse their asses out. And the only people that's going to be saved are the elect. And that's why the Most High got us out there to wake. Well, the Most High already got the elect sealed. So we say a word and they hear it, and the Most High triggers them, their mind, to open up to this truth. And at the same time, we're telling other Israelites this truth that are not going to get it. And so for them to hear this truth and for them to openly condemn this truth and then to be destroyed by the Most High. Because the majority of the children of Israel are going to be destroyed by the Most High. And like I said before, we're not going to bend over backwards to try to wake you Jakes up, man. If you come up and you a Muslim or a Christian or whatever, and you want to bring your thing in, we're going to tell you we're not dealing with that. We have this truth. Either you accept it or you don't accept it. Plain and simple. Let me go to Matthew 22. Okay, Matthew 22 verse 2. The kingdom of heaven is like unto a certain king which made a marriage for his son. And that marriage is when the Most High brings us brings us together with the Son, and that's to be this setting up of the kingdom. And sent forth his servants to call them that were bidden to the wedding, and they would not come. So we go out there, and there's certain people that listen to us and say they're into something else. Oh, you're breaking it down wrong. Oh, I should be over you. All these people are going to be put to death. You got some Jakes come out there with their woman and they'll talk to impress their woman. And really they wind up making a fool out of themselves. It says again, he sent forth other servants saying, Tell them which are bidden, behold, I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and my fatlings are killed, and all things are ready. Come unto the marriage. So that's that great calling. That's why we out there on the highways and the byways. And that is actually going to say that in this chapter right here. It says, but they made light of it. So a lot of Jakes make light of this thing. A lot of Jakes come into this thing and then they fall back out because of the love of the world or because of the love of a woman. Or they got a high position on their job where they have to work a lot of hours to please their so-called boss. So a lot of you make light of this, man. A lot of you watch the other videos on YouTube and how you might be smoking a blunt or you might be eating popcorn or potato chips and drinking a goddamn Budweiser. And that's as far as you go. You watch the videos and that's it. And went their ways, one to his farm, another to his merchandise. And the remnant took his servants and treated them spitefully and slew them. But when the king heard thereof, he was wroth, and he sent for his armies and destroyed those murderers and burnt up their city. And this place, Babylon, is going to be burnt up. This city going to be burnt up. Then saith he to his servants, the wedding is ready, but they which were bidden were not worthy. Go ye therefore into the highways, and as many as ye shall find, bid to the marriage. So that's what we're doing. We're bidding you to this marriage. So those servants went out into the highways and gathered together all, as many as they found, both bad and good. So, you know, when you go back to the beginning of this thing, you had a lot of brothers coming to GMS. I'm using GMS for example, that through the years they either got kicked out or they fell off. And some of them get kicked out and do their own thing, and then they change up a lot of the scriptures. And the Most High is going to destroy them too. It said, and gathered together all as many as they found, both bad and good. And the wedding was furnished with guests. And when the king came in to see the guests, he saw there was a man which had not on a wedding garment. And what is that? To have this whole truth inside of you, on you, around you, about you. And that means you have to study. Philippians 2:12 says, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. You ain't gonna make it off of another guy's works. You got to do your own works. And the Most High is not dealing with niggas with hands in their pocket. 12th verse. And he saith unto him, friend, how camest thou in hither not having a wedding garment? And he was speechless. Then said the king to the servants, bind him hand and foot, and take him away and cast him into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are called, but few are chosen. Now that word chosen is from the Greek word eklektos. It means picked out, chosen by the Most High to obtain salvation through Yahweh Shai. Christians, which are Israelites, are called chosen or elect of the Most High. The Messiah is called elect, is appointed by the Most High to the most excellent office conceivable. Choice, select, i.e. the best of its kind or class, excellence, preeminent, applied to certain individual Christians. Now that word should be Israelites, Israelite believers. So the Most High is gathering the best. Matthew 20 verse 16. So the last shall be first and the first last. For many be called, but few chosen. Matthew 24 verse 31. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet. And that's when Babylon is being destroyed in the war of Armageddon. So Matthew 24, the destruction in Matthew 24 goes hand in hand with the war of Armageddon. That's the war, that's part of the war of Armageddon. That's Revelation the 12th chapter. The angels fighting against Michael and his angels fighting against the Satan and his angels. It says, and he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet. And they're coming in with ships, because so-called UFOs, because how are we going to be delivered? pursuant to Revelation 11 and 8 on down, Psalms 91. Read that whole chapter. Psalms, what is that? Psalms 168. I'm sorry. Let me double check that. Psalm 68. I don't know why I said Psalms 168. Psalm 68. Goes hand in hand with Psalm 91. 13 verse, Psalm 68. Though ye have lain among the pots, yet shall ye be as the wings of a dove, covered with silver, and her feathers with yellow gold. So these ships are going to be silver and gold, precious metals. At 16 verse, why leap ye high hills, these other nations? This is the hill which the Most High desireth to dwell in. Meaning he's dealing with the children of Israel. He ain't dealing with any other nation. Yeah, Yahweh will dwell in it forever. The Most High dwells among men. Revelation 21 from the first verse on down. It says the chariots of the Most High are 20,000. What are these chariots? These chariots are the ships that the angels are going to come down in to beam up the elect of Israel, even thousands of angels. And this goes hand in hand with Daniel the 7th chapter, the 9th verse on down. Yahweh is among them as in Sinai, in the holy place. So when the laws were given to Moses, they saw those ships. And I see, the Most High showing a lot more signs in the heavens, a lot more so-called UFO sightings, a lot more unexplained things, because our Lord Yahweh Shai is going to make his return to deliver the elect and destroy this goddamn system. So we're not derelicts. We're not guilty of a dereliction of duty. We are faithful men of the Most High. And through the Spirit blesses that we remain faithful to this truth. Things are going to happen, man. I did a video the other day, and a brother sent me something dealing with 39 to 40% of Americans' families only have $1,000 to their name if something major happens, if their car breaks down, a medical situation happens. So everything is in place for the complete and utter destruction of this goddamn place. And with that,
Shalom. First and foremost, call Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Harakakadash. That ones to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, GMS, that taught me the truth. Much love, greetings, and salutations to the tabernacle of David, the hopeful elect. What does it mean for Donald Trump to pull out of the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty? Well, I want to kind of get into that and show you how serious this is as it pertains to prophecy. Now, those of you that are in the know, you should understand that a nuclear war is imminent, and this world will not be able to pass away without that judgment being brought to pass. Because this is how Esau's world is going to pass away. All right. And Trump simply just made it much more pivotal in this oncoming war that the world is facing right now, being on the verge or brink of World War III. You already got nations pulling out of the petrodollar, which is to the United States an act of war. You got countries dumping U.S. Assets in their treasury. Okay, I mean it's a lot happening right now, and now Trump just backed out of a treaty deal that was signed back in the 80s that actually helped calm the anxiety of a nuclear war stemming back from the Cold War. All right, where there was an arms nuclear race between the two opposing forces, which back then Russia was part of a conglomerate known as the Soviet Union or the USSR. All right, and this pact was signed to basically calm that whole arms race, so that these countries can function without that threat. It's evident that DJ Trump, he wants to make it happen. And a lot of these people, especially in these other countries, even allies, are starting to get sick and tired of the West's unilateralism, where you're making all these decisions, and it's all one-sided. It's based off of what you believe will benefit your society, your country, without considering others. You don't care if the other countries or your own allies agree or disagree. And that's what's pissing a lot of these other nations off. All right. So I want to play a reaction from some of the people here in Babylon, and you'll see that even these Edomites, they're basically expecting nuclear war based off of the actions that are being taken. So let's play this real quick, and then we're going to go into the article going into what it actually means for Trump to have pulled out of that treaty. So let's play this real quick.
It sounds like a terrible idea. It sounds crazy, like crazy as he is, and I don't know.
Hey, well, that's who y'all wanted. That's who y'all voted for, man. Especially you so-called white women, man. Y'all, 53% of y'all put him in there. All right, because at the end of the day, despite how you feel, you know, with your feminism, you still it would be no feminism without your so-called white supremacy. Okay, and you so-called white women, you Edomite, Shedamite women, y'all have always hid behind your so-called white supremacy. All right, it's what you use to get Jakes lynched. You could yell rape. You've been sheltered, protected. Okay, you got all the privilege in the world, the most privilege out of all women on the planet Earth. So don't trip now that you got this crazy guy in office, man. Okay, you wanted it. This is what you get now. And now this man is finna. He's opening up the doors for you to get annihilated by nuclear fire. Let me continue.
I mean, I think we're on the brink anyway of some kind of nuclear catastrophe, either like man-made or, well, it's all man-made, but, you know, through war or through a nuclear accident, or there's something, you know.
No, and you're right. You're on the brink of a nuclear war, and it's not just man-made. The Most High is appointing this. All right. The Lord told us that this war is going to be fought nuclear, man. It's going to be fought with fire. Let's get that in Isaiah real quick. Isaiah 9 and verse 5. Isaiah 9 and 5. It says, "For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire." All right. And this war will become nuclear. All right. That's why on the day of the Lord, it says it's going to burn as an oven, because there's going to be so much fire being kindled on that day. All right. So it's not really man-made, even though the Lord's using man to orchestrate and to actually be brought into a world's war. All right. And the Lord is the one who put it in the minds of these the leaders of these nations to actually create these weapons. For what? For the purpose of this third world's war, man. Let's get Isaiah 54 and 16. So you could say man made it, but it's all being orchestrated through the spirit of the Lord, man. Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, who the world calls God. All right, and the name is only begotten Son, who the world calls Jesus Christ. All right. It's Isaiah 54 and 16. "Behold, I have created the smith, or the scientist, that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work." And you look up the word instrument, is apparatus. All right, basically a weapon for his work. A weapon for whose work? The work of the Almighty. "And I have created the waster to destroy." So this particular weapon is going to be caused to waste and destroy lands of people. So the Lord actually gave that information to the smiths that crafted it, that made it. All right, who created the atomic bomb? Wasn't it one of the Oppenheimers, when they created that bomb that they dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, man? And ever since then, it had been a big arms race. They all came up with these ideas. All right, those Germans had it first, but then you had the Soviet Union, who also had ideas, and they started to create nuclear weapons. And it got to the point where the world became anxious and terrified, so they had to come up with some treaty or some bill to kind of quell that, to keep it from getting worse and worse. Because they had scares back then that, hey man, we're gonna blow each other away. Ain't gonna be no mankind left on the soils of the earth. So that was the whole purpose of them even coming up with this INF treaty. Okay, but the Most High is the one that's in control. All right, He turns the heart of the kings. Matter of fact, let me get that. Proverbs 21 and 1. It says, "The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, as the rivers of water. He turneth it whatsoever He will." All right. So the Lord is actually orchestrating this. This is how the Lord plans for Esau's kingdom to go out, to stir all these kings up for war. And that's why they're being stirred up over there in the Middle East, all around Saudi Arabia, all around Israel. Okay, that whole realm of land is on fire right now, man. Okay, and it's all what's going to lead up to that final moment. So I'm gonna finish this out, and then I'm gonna go into the actual article.
it's all imminent. It feels like, without being,
Crazy. Simply crazy.
Yeah, all these Edomites, man, it's crazy. Yeah, man, it is crazy, man. But it's also beautiful. It's good news because when this goes down, that's the end of your world. All right, Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follow, man. So yeah, it's crazy that you're gonna go out like that way. Okay.
Well, hopefully we control nuclear weapons. So
I think disconnecting from the world is a really bad thing. And it's one of many, many bad things that are in the process of destroying our democracy in this country.
Yeah, these Edomites, they terrified, man. So let's get into the article. This is from RT.com. It says, what's INF and why does it matter? Trump wants to kill pivotal nuclear treaty that calmed the Cold War. All right. And that's, you see the image. All right. Ronald Reagan, that devil. And then you had the Soviet president back then that was signing the treaty, right? So let's get into it real quick. Now, I'm not going to read this whole entire piece, but I'm going to read the parts that, that's informative so you understand what's going on here. It says, boldly accusing Russia of violating the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty, Donald Trump has vowed to pull out of the unacceptable deal. This is the same route he chose on the Iranian nuclear deal. And him backing out of that deal, it caused like a domino effect. Because after that, you start to sour the relations between the U.S. and the rest of the world, because the rest of the world we're backing the Iranian nuclear deal. All right, even America's own allies, the European Union. So here come Trump again with the unilateralism. All right, and I wonder what the reaction of those NATO countries are going to be behind this backing out of another deal. All right. It says Moscow, however, has its own view on who is in violation of the key Cold War era pact. What is INF and why it matters? The INF treaty signed in 1987 between the USSR and the United States eliminated nuclear and conventional ground-launched ballistic and cruise missiles with ranges of 500 to 5,500 kilometers. Now, when you do the math on those ranges, 500 kilometers is equivalent to 310 miles. Okay, and that distance is like, I'll give you an example. For me to get from here in Vegas back to Los Angeles is roughly around 300 to 310, 320 miles. So that distance of range is 500 kilometers. So if they was to use a cruise missile from one place to another, that would be the actual distance that those missiles would have range to travel to. Okay. Hey, and that should scare the hell out of those Israelis. This treaty eliminated them to be able to produce these type of missiles that have those kind of ranges, conventional and cruise missiles. Now 5,500, that's over 3,000 miles, man. Around 3,000, roughly around 3,500 miles, man. Now that's more of a distance between California all the way up to like a little past Maine. So that's a missile with the range of being able to shoot from one side of Babylon all the way to the opposite side of Babylon. Okay, and Russia is not that many miles away from Israel, nor is Iran. So I could see why those European countries, you know, those NATO countries, that they would get upset at Trump because of this. Okay, but both countries been producing nuclear weapons that have range of going from one side of the earth to the other side, intercontinental ballistic missiles. Okay, but right here, this is a matter of conventional ground launch missiles and cruise missiles. Okay, anyway, continuing on, it says the historic accord marked the first time the superpowers had agreed to eliminate an entire category of nuclear arms and introduce on-site inspections for verification. The deal brought much needed detente to an atmosphere of tense Cold War standoff and allowed Europe, which housed much of the American arsenal, to breathe a sigh of relief. All right. So, you know, it kind of calmed, you know, these nations from that tension by them signing this act, man, this treaty. All right. But now this puts them back in harm's way. Now the anxiety is gonna come back out. They might as well push that doomsday hand. They might as well push it a little closer now. All right. That's how serious this is. And both countries have accusations against each other of how they feel that they have already been in violation of this treaty. All right. So that's why Trump is talking about, well, I'm finna back out. Okay. It says the deal didn't affect aircraft and sea-based missiles, an area where the U.S. had a clear strategic advantage at the time. So it was widely seen as a gesture of goodwill by the USSR at a cost to its own national security. Another significant problem with the INF treaty was that other nuclear-armed nations were never party to it, including U.S. allies France and the UK, as well as China. Okay, so you know, that's what's going on right now. All right, and we are definitely on the verge and brink of World War III, which is going to turn nuclear according to the scriptures. All right. So that brings me to the scripture and prophecy dealing with war. This is Joel 3, and that's the scripture we always use. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles or the heathen, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. All right. I got power. I have strength because now I've used the money that I would have used to actually have a strong agriculture. Now I have a strong military. All right. For the bettering of what? National security. And Trump has not Trump, Putin has been pivotal in the role of providing these small countries, these weaker countries, with nuclear arms, man. All right, and building their nuclear arsenal up with these you know, these different air defense systems, so on and so forth. Those S-300, S-400s, you know, that been constantly in the news. And then you know, Russia test firing these, you know, different type of missiles that they have. All right, so at right now it's basically like it's whatever at this point. Okay, so let's go from there to 2nd Ezra 16. And basically, the scriptures are parabolic. So when you see certain words, it's the prophet describing what they see in the vision in comparison to what they understand and saw at that time. All right. Now I'm finna get into the nuclear missiles and prophecy, which you gotta understand spiritually that the when you read about the bow and the arrow, it's not always talking about an actual literal bow and arrow that they used in war in the ancient world. Some of it is actually dealing with that, but also when it comes to prophecy, are dealing with today's time. When it talks about the bow and the arrow, obviously these armies are not using bow and arrows to fight each other. Technology has advanced. All right, they use firepower now. They use machine guns. Okay, they use tanks. They use missiles, cruise missiles. Okay, atomic bombs, weapons. Okay, hydrogen bombs, drones. That's what they use now. In this case, the arrows are the nuclear missiles that's going to be shot from one end of the earth to the other, and I'm going to read it. 2nd Ezra 16 and 13. It says, "For strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow. His arrows that he shooteth are sharp, and shall not miss, when they begin to be shot into the ends of the world." Now you can't shoot with a bow, an arrow from one side of the earth to the other side. Only an intercontinental ballistic missile would make sense of what's being described within this verse. But the prophet Ezra, he can only compare it to what he knew back in his time. All right, a bow and arrow. But what bow and arrow can cause people to melt, cause an entire country to be destroyed and turned into a desolate wilderness? That's talking about nuclear destruction. All right. It says, "Behold, the plagues are sent and shall not return again until they come upon the earth. The fire is kindled." Why? Behind what? Behind those sharp arrows. "And it shall not be put out till they consume the foundation of the earth." And that's how that smoke is going to rise up, for a long period of time. It tells you that in Revelation, the smoke of her torment. All right, ascending up. It says, "Like as an arrow which is shot of a mighty archer returneth not backward, even so the plagues that shall be sent on earth shall not return again." Okay, and we're coming into that time, man. That's why Ezra says this: "Woe is me, woe is me. Who shall deliver me in those days?" All right. Well, the Lord Yahweh Shai is going to deliver us. He's going to beam up his elect before the total devastation. Okay. So let's go from there to let's see. Let's get Psalms 21 and 8. It says, "Thine hand shall find out all thine enemies, and all the enemies of the Lord are these other nations." It says, "Thy right hand shall find out those that hate thee." And 2/3 of our people are also the enemies of the Lord too. That's why they're going to die in this nuclear destruction as well. It says, "Thou shalt make them as a fiery oven in the time of thine anger. The Lord shall swallow them up in his wrath, and the fire shall devour them. Their fruit shall thou destroy from the earth, and their seed from among the children of men." All right, Esau, that's why he's going to get wiped out here in Babylon, man. All right, because this is his world right now. All right, the Lord's not going to leave neither fruit nor branch here in America of any Edomite. All Edomites will be dissolved here. All right, if you're not of the elect of Israel, you're going to be dissolved. All right, verse 11, "For they intended evil against thee, they imagine a mischievous mischievous device which they're not able to perform. All right, and that's talking about their intention to bring forth this new world order. They're imagining, they think that they're going to fulfill that enterprise, but they're not going to be able to truly perform it. Right before they think they're going to put finishing touches, which is to chip everybody, that's when the Lord's going to come down and he's going to put a stop to it. All right, and this is how he's going to put an end to it. Therefore shall thou make them turn their back, when thou shalt make ready thine arrows upon thy strings against the face of them. All right, and that's talking about the missiles. All right, also the chariots that's going to be shooting fire out and also dissolving people, man. All right, we can't leave out the chariots, man, and destruction that they're going to bring. Is Psalm 7 and 13. He also prepared for him the instruments of death. He ordained of his arrows against the persecutors. Okay. So that there you have it, man. All right. The arrows is talking about the nukes, and they're going to be shot from one end of the earth to the other end of the earth. All right, and the Lord's going to have Russia and their allies shoot their missiles over here, man. They ain't got no treaty to uphold now. They're not under no restriction now. All right, he signed that out of the way. Okay, Trump just did that. This is Psalms 58 and starting at 3. And this is definitely talking about Esau, the wicked. Read Malachi 1 and 4. It tells you that he's the wicked. All right, Psalms 58 and 3. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. That's why this man is, we call him the devil, because he can't help himself but lie. They're poison as the poison of a serpent, showing you that he's the same spirit of the serpent in the garden. They are like the deaf adder that stoppeth her ear, which will not hearken to the voice of charmers, charming never so wisely. Break their teeth, O power, in their mouth. Break out the great teeth of the young lions, O Lord. Let them melt away as waters which run continually. When he bendeth his bow to shoot his arrows, let them be as cut in pieces, as a snail which melteth. Let every one of them pass away. And that's how Esau's world is going to pass away, man. And with that fire, man. 2 Peter the 3rd chapter. It's going to pass away with fervent heat, wherein the elements shall melt. All right, like as the untimely birth of a woman, that they may not see the sun. Okay, this is Psalms 91. All right, and this is for the elect. We're going to be saved, Lord willing, we the elect. This is how we're going to be saved, man. This is Psalms 91 and 1. It says, he that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Yeah, the Lord's going to protect us with his wings, man. Up under his wings like a dove. All right, that's talking about the chariots of salvation, the so-called UFOs. That's how we're going to be safe from all those arrows raining down on this devil, man. All right, we're going to simply be watching it from the chariot. All right, you saw that the beginning of that music video, that bug out clown Quavo from the Migos. That's what it's going to look like being up there in the chariots. Okay. But the difference is, niggas like that, they're not gonna be able to escape through some damn virtual reality goggles, man. They're gonna be left right down there to burn. Them fucking dirty ass dreads is gonna be a flames. It's gonna light up like the stem of a candle. All right. It says, I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my power, in him will I trust. Surely he shall deliver me from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. You read that in Ephesians the 6th chapter, man. All right. It says, thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day. All right? Nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor for the destruction that wasteth at noonday. As 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. Why? Because you're going to be in a ship, and you're going to be protected and safe. As these nuclear missiles these nuclear warheads are falling down on Babylon and other parts of the world. All right? And that's when we're going to see the destruction of our enemies, man. The fall of the wicked. Okay? So you see it, the reaction firsthand with these Edomites. They're terrified and upset that Trump just did this, man. And they're welcoming this nuclear war. All right? Well, hey, the Bible already says it, so guess what? It is going to happen. Whether you choose or not. Whether you choose to believe it or not, man. All right? So, you know, that should also, you know, put fear in you, you know, you men out there that are Israelites, you so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, to get serious. We're going to keep on stressing that, man. Get serious, man. There's not a lot of time left. Don't play games with this, man. This Noah's Ark is still being built, but we at the finishing touches, man. If you ain't in that ark, that spiritual Noah's Ark, you're gonna be preserved for the second death. You ain't gonna make it, man. All right, you men and you women, get in line, man. Get in order, man. Do as pray, fast, do what you got to do to get closer to the Most High, man. Because we want mercy. The Lord God, He has it out, man. He's gonna do a work on this place, man. And a lot of these Edomites, these proud ass, puffed up Edomites, the Lord is about ready to move in on them, man. It's about that time. All right. So hopefully this was edifying, and we give all praise to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. Until next time, I say Shalom.
All right, I'd like to start out by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rakha Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Get to the Work. There was a title that came to me earlier this morning, and I just wrote it down. And I'm here, you know, at the park where I usually come to do the live lessons, and I was putting a couple of scriptures together, so Lord's will we can get through these precepts and show you the importance of doing this work and finishing this work, because that was the main thing on Yahushai's mind. Now Yahushai, they call him a gluttonous man, which means he loved to eat. They call him a wine bibber, which means he loved to drink. But the most important thing on his mind, mission on his mind, was to do the work and to finish the work. You know, that's why even while he was fasting the 40 days and the 40 nights, when the tempter came to tempt him, you know, one of the things he said, if you be the son of the Most High, command these stones that they should be turned to bread. In other words, so he could eat. And this is what Yahushua told him. I'm gonna just jump to the law itself, where he quoted from Deuteronomy 8:3. And he humbled thee and fed thee with manna, which thou knewest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man doth not live by bread only, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Lord Yahweh doth man live. So pretty much that was a sentiment that Yahushua had. You know, he said that man shall not live by bread alone. So although Yahushua loved to eat and loved to drink, you know, because, you know, he was going through that grief You know, his main mission and his main concern was about doing the Heavenly Father's business and completing that work. This is the book of St. Luke, the second chapter, and let's see, St. Luke 2, and I start at 40. You know what? I go straight to the point. 49. And he said unto them, meaning to his father and to his mother, because they were looking for him, and his mother told him that they were grieved, you know, looking for him. He said unto them, how you sought me? Wist ye not that I must be about my Father's business? So don't you know that I must be about my Father's business? Because that's what Yahweh came to do. He came to do the work of the Most High Yahweh and to finish that work. But you're going to get that also. Let me see. There's a precept here. I just want to see what it says. Doesn't make no sense. That's First John. Just bear with me 1 second. I'm just trying to check this precept. Let me just check this real quick, and then we'll get back into it. All right, so let's move on. Let's continue on. All right, so he said, "Wish ye not that I be about my Father's business." So Yahweh's main concern was all about his Father's business. It was all about the upliftment of Yahweh. It was all about the doing the work, the finishing the work, the getting the work done, the mission that was given to him. And he instilled that same spirit on his disciples, which later became apostles, and that sentiment and that spirit trickled down to the men that they taught, you know, all the way up until today. You know, so we have that same work ethic through the spirit and grace of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai to teach this word and to finish this work, you know. And this is why the spirit has been so heavy for this word to be pushed out on a high frequency like it has been, and it's almost like doing overtime, you know, at a job, you know, overtime, double time, triple time, you know, quadruple time. You know, probably about a year ago or so, if I'm not mistaken, Spirit got on me to do a lesson and call it, you know, we're in hyperdrive. And right now, this truth is in hyperdrive, you know, and even beyond that, you know, it's moving faster than the speed of light, you know, because this word is going out, it's causing all type of havoc around the four corners of the earth. You know, and this is all set up for the Lord's word, because the Lord said that his words don't go out void. You know, he said whatever the Lord sent his word to do, it's going to accomplish it. You know, it's not going to turn back. The word of the Lord ain't going to get to the point where it's got to do what it got to do and say, you know, I need to take a break. I'm not going to do the, you know, I know that what the Lord said, but I'm going to just chill and take a break. No, whatever the Most High said, that's what he's going to do. You know, and he's causing these things to happen. It's time for this devil to go down, and it's time for our kingdom to be established once again. So that's why the name of this lesson is Get to the Work. You know, I mean, you know, you have your moments where you can, you know, relax and chill and all that, but really the time when we're really going to rest and be able to relax and kick back is in the kingdom. And this is what we're working towards, because the end of the work, that's when we get the wage. That's when we get the salary. You know, that's when we get our check, so to speak. That's when we get that penny that was promised to us, which that penny is the kingdom of heaven. All right, so now let's go from there to Luke, the 19th chapter. I'm going to start at the 12th verse. It says, he said, therefore, a certain nobleman went into a far country to receive for himself a kingdom and to return. This certain nobleman is Yahushai. And he went to a far country. That far country is the fourth dimension up in the heavens, where the Most High Yahweh dwells and the angels dwell. And it says to receive for himself a kingdom. And the kingdom was, the Lord told Yahushai, sit thou at my right hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool. So when the Most High Yahweh gave Yahushua that mission to come down here and to become that sacrifice and to teach His word and to push the good news and the preach the gospel, you know, do the work that he was supposed to do, He came down here and he did the work faithfully. You know, He did it proficiently and He did it faithfully. You know, and He instilled that same spirit in the men that He taught, you know, and that's what we have to, because now He's sitting on the right hand of the Most High until the Lord makes His enemies His footstool, which means what? Until the Lord sets Yahushua back up in His own kingdom and has His enemies as His servants, as His slaves, you know. It says, and to return, and this is what we're waiting for, the return of Yahushua, because once Yahushua returns, after the prophecies are all fulfilled, then the kingdom will, then this devil will go down, then we will be raised up out of this oppressive state that we've been in, you know, mentally, physically, or whatever oppression, or however it affects each individual member of the elect. All right, it says, and He called His 10 servants. So Yahushua has a certain amount of men down here that are His servants, that are to go out here on the highways and the byways and take the money of our Lord and push it out there and trade, you know, and teach this word. You know, now you have some that are wise and that are doing it, and that are doing it to the best of their ability, and they're doing as much as they possibly can. And then there are some that have the money, the Lord's money, but they're sitting on it. They're playing games with it. You know, they're going to different, you know, functions, you know, of Israelites, and neglecting the very work that the Lord gave them. All right, it says, and delivered them 10 pounds. So there was a certain amount of money that each individual one of us has. It was a gift of Yahweh Bashem Shai that each one of us was given a certain portion. It says, and delivered them 10 pounds and said unto them, occupy till I come. So the word occupy means to work. So to be busy, you know, be busy with the work. Don't be busy with the affairs of this life, the affairs of this world. You know, even though the scriptures say use the world as not abusing it, but what we're supposed to be doing is we're supposed to be occupied with the work of the Lord. You know, with the thoughts of the Lord. You know, and even when you're watching movies, sometimes, you know, even though you may watch a movie for entertainment purpose, there's always there may be things in the movie that reflect back to the scriptures, reflect back to the work, you know, and it's good to remember, just to make certain points, to give a visual of what the scriptures are saying, you know, because, you know, everything that we do is pretty much goes back to what the scriptures say. All right, this is the word occupy in the book of Luke, G4231, pragmatuomahi, which goes back to the word pragmatic, which the word pragmatic means to work. It says to busy oneself with, that is to trade, occupy. So pretty much to busy oneself with trading. And what is the trade that we're doing? We're taking the word of the Lord, freely you have received, freely give, going out there teaching the word, so that the men that are out there that are still to come into this thing can come into this thing, you know. Now we're at the end, so, you know, the teachers that are out there, you know, for the most part, you know, Lord willing, you know, that, you know, we be the elect, you know, because it's coming down to the very end. You know, so even though you're going to have members of the elect that come in at the very last minute, you know, but the teachers of the Lord are out there teaching and preaching His word, man, and in them trenches, man, and making them hot tracks, rolling hard, you know. And shalom to the Akim on the comment board. If there's any Akwath listening, shalom to y'all too. I'm gonna read this one precept that GMS Quick and Powerful put up. 1 Timothy 4:15. Meditate upon these things, give thyself wholly to them, that thy profiting may appear to all. And that's right, because that's the thing. See, what we're doing is we're teaching the words of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai to glorify Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, not to glorify ourselves. And in doing this, the Lord will eventually glorify us, you know, the same way he glorified Yahushai. And that was Yahushai's main mission. So if our Lord's main mission was to please his Father and to do his work, well, our seeing that we're here in the stead of Yahushai, our main goal is to please our Lord Yahushai and do his work, which in turn would be doing the work of the Most High. Because remember, the head of Yahushai is the Most High, the head of the man is Yahushai, and the head of the woman is the man. And each one that is a servant is to do the will of his master, you know. So this is the book of 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse I'll start at 1. Thou therefore, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Hamashiach Yahushai, and the thing that thou hast heard of me among many witnesses, the same commit thou to faithful men who shall be able to teach others also. And that's our goal and our mission, is to teach this word so that the teachers of the Lord can come into this word, get the information, get the knowledge, get the wisdom, get the understanding, have plenty of videos that they can watch to get the understanding, and not have to ask as many questions because everything is already covered and all they got to do is watch the videos and learn. Then they can go out there and teach also. You see? And that's the main goal. That is the work. You know, the work is not about making yourself look good, you know, lauding yourself and having people praising you. Oh, did you see the way he broke that scripture down? I think I seen a streak of lightning come out of his ass. You know, glorifying yourself. No, man, this is about Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, B'Hashem Rachah Kudash, to the glorying and acknowledging of Yahweh and his son Yahushai. You know, right? So right, like Yahushua is coming back said, you need to contribute to the truth. How do you help the ministry? And these are things you have to ask yourself. You know, what am I here for? You know, what is my contribution to the truth? You know, this is the book going. All right, that was that. I read Occupy. Now let's go from there to the book of St. John, chapter 4. And I'm gonna start at 31. And you know, Barakatah Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, and the water to you brothers, you know, for putting, you know, spirit being upon you brothers to put them precepts up, you know, because sometimes be speaking and precept may not come, but then that's what the Lord said, 2 or 3, or the 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst, because that helps fuel the fire. That's throwing them logs into that fire. So this is St. John chapter 4 verse 31. It says, in the meantime, while his disciples prayed him, saying, Master, eat. But he said unto them, I have meat to eat that you know not of. See, and this word is meat. You know, when you read, matter of fact, when you read, I'll get it. You know, this is like one of my favorite scriptures, Proverbs 9, and I'll start at the first verse, because this word is like a table set up with plates and cups and wine and you know, figs and dates. You know, and you got your lamb dinner. You know, you got your lamb dinner. You know, you can have a lamb dinner, not the Passover though. You have your lamb. You have whatever you eat with your lamb. You know, whatever it is that's of course lawful. You know, you have fruits and your salads. You know, which Jake don't like to eat salads, but you know, you have your salads and stuff. Everything on the table. Your unleavened bread. You know, and it's a big meal, a big feast. You know, and you gather from the different sources, you know, of the food, and you put it on your plate and you eat the plate. Well, that's what we're doing right now. We're serving up plates of food, of righteous food, non-GMO food, you know, food that won't give you indigestion, you know, spiritually. You know, it's food that'll benefit you spiritually, you know, and Lord's will help seal you, you know, for salvation. This is it says this is Jeremiah chapter 3 verse 15, and I will give you pastors according to mine heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding, because this knowledge and this understanding of this book is like a big feast, you know, that's being prepared. You know, it's, you know how you prepare those meals where you might be cooking it for 2 days, you marinate it for maybe 2 or 3 days, and then you slow cook it for probably about another day and a half, 2 days, and by the time you get to that meat, you know, to that beef brisket or that chicken or turkey, whatever it is, it's so tender that as soon as the fork touches it, it falls apart and it just melts in your mouth. Well, that's what this truth is like, and this truth is a savor. It's a savor to those that are to be saved. It's a great savor, a tasty savor, and to them that perish, it's a bitter taste to them, you know, that they don't want. So it says Proverbs 9:1, wisdom hath builded her house, she hath hewn out her 7 pillars, she hath killed her beasts, so she hath mingled her wine, she hath also furnished her table. So this is the wisdom is furnishing the table, you know. So Yahweh that gave wisdom, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua that gave wisdom, wisdom comes down and gives us the supplies that we need in order to prepare these meals. Just like when you go to the supermarket, if you go to a supermarket and there's nothing in the supermarket that you can choose from to make your meal, then you're not going to be able to prepare a meal. So every day, you know, when we go to sleep, the Lord gives us certain things in our minds to prepare us, you know, to prepare the meal, either whether it be the next following day, you know, but now it's coming consecutively. So they give us the right supplies to prepare the best meal possible. It says, she has sent forth her maidens, and the maidens are who? We're the maidens. You know, we're the ones that's out there serving the Lord. It says, she crieth upon the highest places of the city. And this is the main part of the work. We're teaching, yeah, do your sit downs and all that, in transits, live shows, whatever you do, but the main part of this work, or the main bulk of this work, is going out there on the highways and the byways teaching his word. It says, whoso is simple, let him turn hither. As for him that wanted understanding, she saith to him, come, eat of my bread and drink of the wine which I have mingled. See, because this is the drink and the food that has been prepared by the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Raka Kudash. Forsake the foolish and live, and go in the way of understanding. See, so this is the way of understanding. You know, that's why it says that you shall hear a word behind you. This is Isaiah chapter 30 and verse 20. And though the Lord give you the bread of adversity, because that's part of the meal, adversity, and the water of affliction, yet shall not thy teachers be removed into a corner anymore. So we're not going to be removed into a corner anymore. Neither you brothers out there either. But thine eyes shall see thy teachers, and thine ears shall hear a word behind thee, saying, this is the way, walk ye in it, when you turn to the right hand and when you turn to the left. So the Lord said, you shall see your teachers. I'm just going to flip this over. So you're going to see your teachers, you know, and beginning with Elder Apostle Tahar, Elder Apostle Gabar, Elder Apostle Rakah, and others, you know, elders and men out there are your teachers, teaching you, you know. Let me flip it back. All right, it says, and thine eyes shall see thy and thy ears shall hear a word behind thee, saying, this is the way, walk ye in it, when you turn to the right hand and when you turn to the left. So no matter which way you turn, this is what you're supposed to be doing, teaching the same thing, not veering away from it. You know, I heard there was a roach in here. Who's the roach? Good looking honky. Oh shit. Woo! Esau is terrible, man. They're terrible. All right, so let's go from there to John 4:31. Oh man, good looking honky. No such thing. That's an oxymoron. John 4:31. In the meanwhile, his disciples prayed him, saying, Master, eat. But he said unto them, I have meat to eat that you know not of. Therefore said the disciples one to another, hath any man brought him aught to eat? Because the disciples at that time were still kind of like on a low level of understanding. And the reason why they were on a low level of understanding was because Yahushua hadn't been crucified yet to open up and break the seals of that full understanding. You know, but being that he was there and he was that light and that bread, he was able to open up their understanding to understand a certain amount of things. But the full understanding didn't come till after he was crucified, went into the heavens, received his glory for the things that he did, received the kingdom, and now is waiting to get it back. And that's when he was able to break those seals and open up the full understanding of the scriptures. And this is when after Yahushua came and was with the disciples after he was crucified and went back to the Father, that's when the floodgates of understanding started opening up to the disciples, which became apostles during the time of the feast of first fruits, which is the feast of Pentecost. That's when the full understanding and the Holy Spirit fully came upon the apostles. It says, Yahushua said unto them, my meat is to do the will of him that sent me. It says, and to finish his work. So Yahushua said, my meat is to do the will of him that sent me and to finish his work. Let's see what it says for that word work there. Let's go to the word work. Come on, let's work. All right, work. In the book of St. John, chapter 4. Oh, snap, that's bad. G2041, ergon. Ergo, a primary but obsolete word to work, toil, as an effort or occupation, by implication an act, deed, doing, labor, work. So this is our occupation. This is our profession, to do the work of the Lord. You know, so we've become professionals at teaching the word because this is our profession. This is our work. 1 Timothy 6:12, I just typed in the word profession. It says, fight the good fight of faith, lay hold on eternal life, whereunto thou art also called, and hast professed a good profession before many witnesses. Because we were called, hopefully we're chosen, we were given a mission, we were given the tools and the supplies, so now our job is to teach. We're professors. You know, that's what the word profession means. So we're professors. That's where the word professional comes from, being a teacher, you know? It says, so let's go to Hebrews 3:1. Wherefore, holy brethren, partakers of the heavenly calling, consider the apostle and high priest of our profession, Yahushua HaMashiach. Hebrews, and we're here in the stead of Yahushua. Hebrews 4:14, his spirit is here, but we're here physically with his spirit. Hebrews 4:14, seeing then that we have a great high priest that is passed into the heavens, Yahushua the Son of the Most High, let us hold fast our profession. Hebrews 10:23, let us hold fast the profession of our faith without wavering, for he is faithful that promise. Now let's look up that word profession in the concordance. Let's see what it says for profession. This is Hebrews. We're going. Matter of fact, you know what? Let me go to 1 Timothy. Good profession. Homologia. G3670. Acknowledgement. Con is with. Profession is to say. Like profession is with saying. You know. And what are we saying? We're professing the good news, which is the gospel of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Now let's see. I guess it's in all of them. It's the same word. Okay. Yeah, homologia, you know, which is profession, acknowledgement. You know, so the Lord has given us that that work to do. So that's what the word work means. You know, profession. And let me see. Did I go to work already? I believe I did, but let me look it up again just to make sure. That's what I meant to do, go to work. Yep, I believe I did. Yep, Ergon. Yep. All right, to work, to labor. All right. So now, let's go back to St. John 4, and I'll read 34 again. Yahushua says unto them, my meat is to do the will of him that sent me, and to finish his work. Say not ye, there are yet 4 months, and then cometh harvest. Because what is harvest? The harvest is the end of the world, as the scriptures say. Behold, I say unto you, lift up your eyes and look at the fields, for they are white already to harvest. Because there's plenty of work to be done. But some people wait until the very last minute to try to do any type of work. Because they're lazy, you know? They don't want to get their hands dirty. They rather wait to the last minute, and then as soon as they put their hand to the plow, then the kingdom comes. Some people have that mentality, you know. But the Lord sees everything, man. He sees everything. This is the book of Saint Matthew 9:37. Then said he unto his disciples, the harvest truly is plenteous, but the laborers are few. Pray ye therefore the Lord of the harvest, that he will send forth laborers into his harvest. So we're supposed to be out there. If we have the knowledge and we have the tools to do this thing, we're supposed to be out there pushing his word. Because the laborers are few. You know? And this is the main part of the work. So the Lord said, say not ye, there are yet 4 months. We still got time. I'm gonna wait, a little longer. I'm gonna wait till the majority of these prophecies are fulfilled, and then I can, get down and and do the work. No, the Lord is watching your jive turkey ass. I'm gonna read a couple of these precepts that brothers putting up. Bruce Norris, Ecclesiasticus 3:25. Without eyes thou shalt want light. Profess not the knowledge, therefore, that thou hast not. Jeremiah weeps, Hebrews 13:21. Make you perfect in every good work to do his will, working in you that which is well pleasing in his sight, through Yahushua HaMashiach, to whom be glory forever and ever. Amen. Wow, that's a bad precept, brother. It's a bad precept. The brother Itazawam, Matthew 5:16. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. And that's right. And that's what it's all about. It's all about the glory of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. The brother Kazak, Luke 12:34. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Let your loins be girded about and your lights burning. That's right. And that's what we're supposed to be doing. And Yahushua said, he that believeth on me, as the scripture has said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living waters. All right, so going back to St. John 4:36, and he that reapeth receiveth wages. So we're going to receive wages if we out there reaping and toiling and working. But if we're not doing that, then we're not going to receive no wages. So you have to have that mentality in mind. That look, what's next? Okay, I did this video already. What's next? What's the next mission? And necessarily have to do 20 videos in one day. You could do a video a day, or if the spirit is on you, do more than that. But the thing is, you're always looking for that next mission, for the next job, showing initiative, not waiting to what should I do? Going to somebody, what do you think I should do now? No, you the initiative through the spirit. Pray to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua to give you that spirit, to do the work. Because if you go on a job and you constantly bugging the boss, what do I do next? What do I do next? What's going to happen to you is eventually he's going to fire your ass. So this guy don't take no initiative. I got to keep finding shit for him to do. Look around and see what you got to do. Fill in the gaps. Fill in whatever. It's there. Everything. Everything's being covered, but there's certain lessons that are covered more than others, and then there may be some lessons that are not covered as much. Just get in where you fit in, as the saying goes. And he that reapeth receiveth wages, and gathereth fruit unto life eternal, that both he that soweth and he that reapeth may rejoice together. And that's what we're doing. We're laboring. Some brothers are sowing, some brothers are reaping. But the thing is, we just constantly, it's a constant well-oiled machine that's going out there and pushing these lessons out for the elect out there, you know, and for the sealing of the prophecies of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. It says, and herein is that saying true, one soweth and another reapeth. I sent you to reap that whereon you bestow no labor. Other men labored, and you are entered into their labors. And that's, we all have done that. We've all entered into other men's labors, because we've the work that we're doing today was started by another man other than ourselves. You know, and we entered into other men's labors, and you brothers entered into other men's labors. You know, but the point is that there's plenty of work to be done. So get to the work. All right, so now we jump into St. John, the 5th chapter, and the 17th verse. But Yahushua answered them, my Father worketh hitherto, and I work. Now let me see if this is the same word for work there in St. John, the 5th chapter, that you have. Yep, same exact word. Oh, no. Salakia. This is ergazomai, ergazomahi. Middle voice from G2041 to toil. Oh, it's along the same words. It's just a little different. As a task, occupation, etc. By implication, effect, be engaged in or with, etc. Commit, do labor for, minister about trade, by work. And that's what we're doing. We're ministering about trade by doing this work, you know, because when you are meditating or studying or putting scripture together, that is a labor, you know, that, you know, to be able to go out there and minister to the saints of the Most High, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, you know. So let's go back. St. John 5 and 17. But Yahushua answered them, my Father worketh hitherto, and I work. Because Yahushua is doing the work of the Father, but it's the Father that's putting the Spirit in Yahushua to do the work. Same thing with us. We're out there working, but there's a Spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Rakha Kodash, that's working in us to do this. It says, therefore the Jews sought the more to kill him, because he not only had broken his Sabbath, but said also that the Most High was his Father, making himself equal with the Most High. Then answered Yahushua and said unto them, verily, verily, I say unto you, the Son can do nothing of himself, but what he seeth the Father do, for what things soever he doeth, these also doeth the Son likewise. And we're the same way. We like the Apostle Paul said, I can do all things Yahushua which strengtheneth me. So we can't do nothing except the Father, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, moves our spirit to do these things. And that's the only way that we're able to continually teach this word. For the Father loveth the Son, and showeth him all things that himself doeth. And he will show him greater works, these that you may marvel. For as the Father raiseth up the dead, and quickeneth them, even so the Son quickeneth whom he will. For the Father, and you could use that twofold. You could use that for people that are actually dead in the grave, and you could use that for people that are actually dead spiritually, you know. Yep, I got some. Let me see. I got some more precepts. Numbers 24:14. And now behold, I go unto my people. Come therefore, and I will advertise thee what this people shall do to thy people in the latter days. Wisdom of Solomon 14 and 5. Nevertheless, thou wouldest not that the works of thy wisdom should be idle, and therefore do men commit their lives to a small piece of wood, and passing the rough sea in a weak vessel are saved. That's right. So nevertheless, thou wouldest not that the works of thy wisdom should be idle, and therefore commit. So the works of our labor should not be idle, you know, because there's a problem there. If it's idle, that means there's a problem. So we have to, you know, pray to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai to push the work along. It says, for the Father judgeth no man, but hath committed all judgment unto the Son, that all men should honor the Son, even as they honor the Father. He that honoreth not the Son
honoreth not the Father which hath sent him. And this is all like at the beginning of the lesson. This is all about the upliftment of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. If you're trying to establish yourself and establish your honor, then guess what? You're not establishing the honor of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Like the Apostle Elder Tahar mentioned about this guy Daniela, you know, he said that it's all about him, and it's true. Because he's like, well, you know, you said this about me and you said that about me and I'm just defending, you know. Well, what about, we're set in defense of the gospel, not in defense of ourselves, you know. Whatever we teach and whenever we address a situation is based off of what the scriptures are saying and based off of the gospel that the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai gave us. Not because people are attacking us personally, you know. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that heareth my word and believeth on him that sent me hath everlasting life, and shall not come into condemnation, but is passed from death unto life. And this is why we're doing the work, to receive that reward, to be protected and hedged from the times to come that are going to be very terrible and very perilous. It says, verily, verily, I say unto you, the hour is coming, and now is, when the dead shall hear the voice of the Son of the Most High, and they that hear shall live. This is twofold. This is talking about people that are actually dead in the graves, and this is actually talking about people that are out here that are dead spiritually. Because believe it or not, in 2018, there are still Israelites out here that are dead to this word. You know, that don't know what the hell is going on. It says, for as the Father hath life in himself, so hath he given to the Son to have life in himself, and he hath given him authority to execute judgment also, because he is the Son of Man. Marvel not at this, for the hour is coming in the which all that are in the graves shall hear his voice, and shall come forth, they that have done good unto the resurrection of life, and they that have done evil unto the resurrection of damnation. Because every so many generations, Jake keeps coming back down here. You know, when they go up into the heavens, they get judged, then they come back down. This is why Yahushua said, or Apostle Paul said, it is given unto man once to die, and afterwards the judgment. You know, so you constantly keep coming back down. Now, when the end comes, those men of the Lord that have done the will of the Lord will go into the chariot of salvation and into the kingdom. That's their reward. But those that have wickedly shall receive their judgment on the earth. That's that eternal damnation, because they're going to receive their judgment on the earth. You know, whether it be being mauled by dogs, whether it be being tortured to death in them concentration camps, whether it be dying of starvation, famine, getting shot in the street, you know, or ultimately being destroyed by that thermonuclear destruction. That's their damnation, and it's not going to change, because that's what they were destined for, you know. But the ones that are part of the elect, when they come back in this time and awake, they will stay awake and will be delivered, you know. So it says, so where are we at? Just bear with me, I lost my spot. Okay, verse 30. I can of mine own self do nothing. As I hear, I judge, and my judgment is just, because I seek not mine own will, but the will of the Father which have sent me. And that's the key. We're seeking the will of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, which sent us, not our own will. It says, if I bear witness of myself, my witness is not true. See, so those people, those guys that are constantly talking about themselves and bigging themselves up and you know and posing for the camera, you know, because they like the attention, then they're not about Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai's business. They're about serving their own belly, and the scriptures told us about that. The Apostle Elder Gabar put a couple of actually a comment and a comment. It says, we are wretched to begin with, so the hell with defending ourselves. That's right. we will defend the gospel first, so the Lord will defend us and save us from being wretched. And that's the whole purpose. You know, and then he put a precept, and you see John 7:18. It says, he that speaketh of himself seeketh his own glory, beautiful. But he that seeketh his glory that sent him, the same is true, and no unrighteousness is in him. And that's the point. You know, it's not about us. It's about Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. So going back to St. John 5:32, there is another that beareth witness of me, and I know that the witness which he witnesses of me is true. Yeah, because I'd rather hear how the Most High Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai feels about me than what man feels about me. You know, because you see, man, one minute he's cool with you, the next minute he's cursing you out. One minute you're the greatest thing in the world, next thing you're a demon, you know? So you can't be worried about what man thinks about you. You know, our focus should be on what Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai thinks about us. And that is the key. All right, it says, ye sent unto John, and he bare witness unto the truth. But I received testimony from man. See? But these things because even though John the Baptist bore witness of Yahweh Shai, he was the one that was a voice in the wilderness, you know, to set up the way. The Yahweh Shai was more concerned with how the Most High felt about him than how man felt about him. So it says, but I received not testimony from man, but these things I say, that you might be saved. He was a burning and a shining light, and you were willing for a season to rejoice in his light. But I have greater witness than that of John, for the works which the Father hath given me to finish, the same works that I do bear witness of me, that the Father hath sent me. So now, I want to check out that word finish, see what it says. You know, this is why Yahweh Shai said, he that endureth unto the end, the same shall be saved. It's not he that endureth for a while, because anyone can endure something for a little while, but taking it all the way until the end, that's where the real, you know, that's where the real metal is really proven. All right, so that was okay, 36th verse, the word finish, G5048, teliao, from 5046, G5046, to complete, that is literally accomplish, or figuratively consummate in character, consecrate, finish, fulfill, make perfect. So how do you make something perfect? By finishing it. This is why the scriptures say that the ending of a thing is better than the beginning. Why? Because the ending of it is what? Is the end when you finish or you fulfill your task or your duty. Now you could, now when you finish the job, now the plow could be put down because the job is done. But if you're in the midst of working, you know, you've worked and you put the plow down and you say, fuck this, then you're not going to receive a reward. You're going to receive destruction. You know? But then once the job is done and it's finished and the Lord is here, you can put the plow down now. Because the next part of that is salvation. All right. So St. John 5:37, it says, and the Father himself, which hath sent me, hath borne witness of me. You have neither heard his voice at any time, nor seen his shape. And this is why a lot of these guys come against us, because the words of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai have no part in them. It says, and you have not his word abiding in you, for whom he have sent, him you believe not. And if we're here in the stead of Yahweh Shai, that means if they don't believe us, they don't believe Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Because we believe through the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai that he sent us to teach his word, to do his work. It says, verse 39, search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the love of the Most High in you. I am come in my Father's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him will you receive. See, and that's why you have these unity camps, because it's about themselves. They're all about themselves, you know, and they feel comfortable because they can praise each other, you know. But when it comes to doing the real will of the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushai, they get offended by it. That's why Yahushai said, "Blessed is he that is not offended in me." How can you believe which receive honor one of another? See, and seek not the honor that cometh from the Most High only. Because when the honor comes from the Most High only, guess what? You will be honored in the sight of the Most High, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, and man, and they'll see it. They may not like it, but they'll see the honor and the glory that's coming from the heaven of the heaven of the heavens. It's an inside joke. Do not think that I will accuse you to the Father. There is one that accuseth you, even Moses, in whom you trust. For had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how shall you believe my words? And you have a lot of people today that rejected the Lord back then, but now today they're in these churches, they're saying Jesus and the Christ, you know, which we don't like saying those names, but they're calling on that name like they really believe in the Son of the Most High. But back then they were rejecting him. They were cursing them out. And you got guys that are in Israel that know they're Israelites calling on the name Yahushai that rejected the Lord back 2,000 years ago. And they're going to be rejected in this time. This is why when you check their works out, it's flawed. They got all kind of bullshit with them, you know, because they rejected the Lord. The Lord said, he that believeth on me, as the scripture have said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. All right, so let's go from there to the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 4. I start at the first verse. 2 Timothy 4 and 1. Furthermore, then we beseech you, brethren. Oh no, so like that was 1 Timothy. Even though that was already sounding spectabulous. But 2 Timothy 4 and 1. No, it was 1 Timothy 4 and 1. Yeah, it was first. Oh, that's what it was. I was in the wrong book. Salakia, brothers. 2 Timothy 4 and 1. I charge thee therefore before the Most High and the Lord Yahushai HaMashiach, who shall judge the quick and the dead at his appearing and his kingdom. Preach the word, be instant in season, out of season. So this is what we're supposed to do. What we're supposed to do is preach the word, teach the word. Not give the people gimmicks. Give them what the word says. Don't give them gimmicks. They got enough gimmicks out there from the world and from Esau. Give them what the Lord said. Said, preach the word, be instant in season, out of season. You go out there in the winter and you go out there in the summer. If it's raining, you go out there. Get your little umbrella or whatever. If it's too bad, then you got other days of the week where you're going to go out. You know? If you can't go out on a Saturday and you're freed on a Sunday and the weather's really, really bad, a hurricane or something, or a snowstorm or whatever, then go out that Sunday if at all possible. You know? It says, reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine. And this is the reason why things are so repetitive. You know, I know Apostle Tahar, you know, he said, I sound like a broken record, but that's the spirit of the Lord upon that man to keep pushing about the microchip, the mark of the beast. Why? Because the Lord said to keep teaching it. You know, it says with all long suffering and doctrine. You know, so it's a constant repetition, because it said the time is coming when they will not endure sound doctrine. It says, and they shall turn away their ears from the truth and shall be turned unto fables. But watch thou in all things, endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of thy ministry. And this is what we're supposed to be doing. So by this word out there, we're constantly doing the work of the Lord and the ministry, doing the work, continuously pushing his word out there, occupying with the talents that the Lord gave us until the Lord comes back. It says, for I am now ready to be offered, and the time of my departure is at hand. I have fought a good fight. I have finished my course. I have kept the faith. Henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give me at that day, and not only to me only, but unto all them that also that love his appearing. So the reward is going to be given by Yahushua himself. And what is that reward? A crown to be put upon our heads if we endure to the end, if we be part of the elect. And that is a great honor to have the King of Kings and Lord of Lords give us a crown for finishing this work, for standing stiffly for his name, for standing stiffly for his word. That is a great honor as he received from the Father, Yahweh. All right, so now let's jump from there to 1 Timothy 3. I'm sorry. Yeah, 1 Timothy 3:1. This is a true saying, if a man desire the office of a bishop, he desire the good work. A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife, vigilant, sober, of good behavior, given to hospitality, apt to teach. Now there's a precept there. Let's see what that says. Apt to teach, B. 2 Timothy 2:24. Let's see what that says. It also said be apt to teach. So now let's look up that word apt. See what that says. The word apt. In what was that? 1 Timothy 3:2. It says apt to teach. It's all one word. Apt to teach. G 13:17. Didacticos. And it sounds like I think that's the apostles' work or something like that. Didacticos. Instructive. See, apt to teach. So instructive means what? You're being an instructor. What does an instructor do? An instructor gives the sense or the understanding of the instructions of a certain particular thing. So the instructions are what? The scriptures. That's the instruction book. And an instructor is one that goes into it and gives the sense of the instructions to the people so that they can in turn get the understanding and be able also to instruct others by teaching them what their instructor taught them through the Spirit. You know, and this word is only to be given to the nation of Israel, not any other nation. Just the nation of Israel, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, not Esau or the other nations. All right, so we're supposed to be apt to teach, ready to instruct, you know. So let's jump from there to 1 Corinthians, the 1st chapter, and the 17th verse. It says, for Hamashiach sent me not to baptize, but to preach the gospel, not with wisdom of words, lest the cross of Yahushua should be made of none effect. For the preaching of the cross is to them that perish foolishness, but unto us which are saved it is the power of the Most High. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise and will bring to nothing the understanding of the prudent. Whereas the scribe, where is the disputer of this world? Have not the Most High made foolish the wisdom of this world? For after that in the wisdom of the Most High, the world by wisdom knew not the Most High. It pleased the Most High by the foolishness of preaching to save them that believe. See, so what we're doing is foolish. You know, to the Most High, this is foolishness. They're going out there preaching. But it pleased the Most High by the foolishness of preaching to save them which believe. Now, why would the Lord consider it foolish? Because the Most High already knows who the elect are. He already sealed them. They're going to be saved already. So all of this working and preaching and all that is not really necessary. But the Most High, that's how he wants to do it. That's why he said it pleased him by the foolish things that we're doing. It pleased the Most High to save those that believe. You see? So a dude don't get simple, you know, look, we gotta do the work. Get to the work. That's a part of the work, the foolishness of preaching. So the Most High covered everything in the scriptures. Everything is covered. All right. This is St. John, chapter 17 and 1. St. John 17:1. These words spake Yahushua and lifted up his eyes to heaven and said, Father, the hour is come. Glorify thy Son, that thy Son also may glorify thee, as thou hast given him power over all flesh, that he should give eternal life to them, to as many as thou hast given him, which is the elect. And this is life eternal, that they might know thee, the only true power, and Yahushua HaMashiach, whom thou hast sent. I have glorified thee on the earth. I have finished the work which thou gavest me to do. So the point is that Yahushua finished the work which Yahweh gave him to do. It says, and now, O Father, thou me with thine own self, with the glory which I had with thee before the world was. But the point was that Yahushua finished the work first. Then he asked the Most High to glorify him. Not before, because he couldn't glorify him unless he finished his work. This is why Yahushua said that his meat is to do the will of the Father which sent him and to finish his work. Now let's go from there to St. John, same book, the 19th chapter and the 28th verse. After this, Yahushua, knowing that all things were now accomplished, that the scripture might be fulfilled, saith, I thirst. Now there was a vessel full of vinegar, and they filled the sponge with vinegar and put it upon hyssop and put it to his mouth. When Yahushua therefore had received the vinegar, he said, it is finished. Meaning the job that the Lord gave him to do and the scriptures that he had to fulfill were fulfilled at that very moment. And that's when he was able to give up the spirit. And he bowed his head and gave up the spirit. And at that particular time in the fight, after he gave up the spirit, that's when he went to the Father up in the heavens to receive his reward. Let's see, there's a precept there, 17:4, which I already read that. Okay, now let's go from there to Revelation 16 and 15. This book of Revelation 16 and 15. It says, behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. And this is the reason why brothers should constantly be doing the work, praying, be in your supplications, because the time is coming where the doors of mercy will be closed. And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon, which means place of the truth. And the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air, and there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne saying, it is done. So what is that? Armageddon, or World War III, is the end of the prophecies. So before the end of the prophecies can come and World War III can come, every other prophecy has to be fulfilled. Jacob's trouble, the microchip, which is the mark of the beast, and anything else in between that. And then once all of that's fulfilled, then World War III can happen, because World War III can come and go in a day or two, you know, or a week or two, or a month or two. You know, it could go really quick, you know? All right, so let's go from there. Let's see. It is done. Q. 21. All right, so let's go from there to the last scripture, Revelation 21 and 6. I'm sorry, 21 and 5. Revelation 21 and 5. And he had sat upon the throne, and he that sat upon the throne said, behold, I make all things new. Why? Because the Lord's coming to bring new heavens and a new earth, because Esau is the end of the world. Jacob is the beginning of that followeth. And this devil has to go down in order for righteousness to be established. And he said unto me, write, for these words are true and faithful. And he said unto me, it is done. Once again, it is done. What? The end has come. And then as you read on further down in this chapter, it tells you about the glory of the kingdom of heaven and how the streets are paved in gold and all of that. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely, because then it's going to be fully opened up. Right now, we only getting pieces and bits. That's why the Apostle Paul said we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face, because we're going to get the full measure. He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his power, and he shall be my son. But we have to finish the work. That's why Yahushua said, he that endureth unto the end, the same shall be saved. And as Yahushua's mind was to do the will of the Most High and to finish it, that is our mentality also, to do the work of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua and to finish that work. So get to the work, you know, keep on pushing. There is a reward coming. We have to be patient, you know, and all the signs are there if your eyes are open, you know, and the reward will be coming very soon. So with that, I hope you brothers have been edified. Until the next time I say, Shalom.